Hello everyone and welcome to APM Research Sigils Part 2. This is FPV Angel and on the panel with me are One Conscience and Rose. If you are new to APM Research, you will find that our research and decodings indicate we live in a technological construct that has very intelligent design. Geo, petro, hieroglyphs, sigils, cartouche and even some sacred geometries are one and the same. Tactical type schematics of technologies relating to the underworld, technologies that are responsible for creating and moving luminaries and are pretty much involved in most of nature itself. So hello ladies and hello to all you fine people in chat.
Hello.
Hello everyone.
Okay, previously in Sigils, we showed Sigils numbers 1 through 36 and how we analyze and decode and cross-reference them with other research materials. In the last video, we stopped at Sigil 36, so today we will be continuing from Sigil 37 onwards. I'll hand the microphone over to One Conscience now to carry on where we left off. Microphone over to you, One.
Okay, thank you. So we left off and we're going to start on 37. Do you have the sigils?
I did have, but they've now just vanished. Another piece to cut out. Would you believe it? I was just going to screen share it and it vanished off my screen. But no worries, yeah, I'm loading it back up. I'll just make sure it screen shares. It didn't show in the list. Would you believe it, people? There it is. Just make sure it's presenting full screen. And off we go.
Okay. So we'll start at number 37.
Are you guys seeing them?
No, it's black.
Yeah, I'm seeing a black screen. Yet I can see them playing my side.
Oh
Hold on, I'll try a different media player. Stand by.
We'll get it together.
Okay, sorry about that. We'll try this other player. I don't know why that played last week. Now today it doesn't want to play. Right, fingers crossed you can see this one. You can see that, yeah?
Yeah, it's a partial picture though.
Yeah, I'm just, right, here we go. It's playing now.
That's it.
Okay, so we'll start out at number 37, which is Osmode. Oh, look at that one. That one looks nice. So Osmode is a king. He is said to have a seal in gold and is listed as the number 32 and according to rank. This one is very strong and powerful and appears with 3 heads, one like a bull, the second like a man, and the third as a ram. He also has the tail of a serpent, and from his mouth comes flames of fire. He sits upon an eternal dragon, holds a lance with a banner amongst the legions of Amaimon, and he governs over 72 legions. He is the master of troops, and he is known for mathematical skills, astrology, and gives the ability of forecasting. He has also been listed as a fallen angel. And just for the record, of all these ones we're going to go through today, 27 of these have also been listed as fallen angels. And if you guys don't know what we've depicted a fallen angel as, it's something that's been placed in the ground. So that's how we're coming to the conclusions that these fallen angels have been strategically and purposely placed into the ground, and they're pieces of technology. And we can see that by what's on screen on Sigil 37, that these relate to processes when you look at them and compare them to electrical schematics and stuff like that. But I'll hand it over for you guys' take on it.
Lovely information there, one. Fantastic. Yeah, and nice. 72. Now, we mentioned the 72 there. We do have the 72 on the grid. What I like about this one also is that, you know, it kind of references a paw with the loop over it, which is what we've seen happening on the Mimic map. You know, that could be like the equator represented there and a looping over it.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. We actually see one of the signals shoot up like that arrow in a way. It kind of comes up and curves around to hit the west side of the world.
Yeah, and as with the previous ones, any crosses we see, we as a rule now, what we factor in magnetics or electromagnetics, as the case may be. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing through it. Same information you're seeing in various other glyphs, technical blueprints of a kind. I'll pass it over to you, Rose, if you've got any input on this one.
Yeah, I am. Wow. There's just so much information there, isn't there? When even just looking at it, it looks really busy and important and exciting and go, go, go. There's a lot of movement in it. I'm intrigued with the 3 heads of the bull, the man, and the ram. To my mind, as someone that studies syncretism, I would suggest that would maybe be describing the process in the spring, because it's a strong, powerful force. It's the seal is gold. It's a king, so that's exalting. That's when the sun exalts in the first 3 months, where all the growth and everything happens. It has the serpent's tail, and sits on the eternal dragon. So again, to my mind, astrologically speaking, that again suggests a process at the beginning of the real year, in springtime, when it's all go, 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 grow, 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 because which would also link with the fallen angel connection, because it's directly describing a process underground. And also with it being, you just stated, more likely to be the west side, that again supports that, because astrologically spring starts from west to east, the way the astrological clock turns, as opposed to clockwise in our linear experience. So also because it's forecasting, it's, for me, forecasting doesn't necessarily mean looking into the future, because they've described that kind of process differently in previous sigils, but forecasting is again growing. So that's why I think this is possibly a springtime process.
Fantastic information, Rose, and nice that you referenced it there with the astrological calendar, because I've got something coming up at the end of this that confirms what you just said. That's a surprise for the end. Right, back to you. That was amazing information indeed, just on the first one.
Oh, I was
Wasn't it?
muted.
Yes.
Sorry. I was talking away. The next one is Gop. Again, the process of Gop is, he is known as a great president and prince. Just a side note that we need to really look into these titles that our countries have. You know, they're taken from a lot of these processes. You know, they have certain areas they're running. They're presiding over providences. So Gop is a president and a prince. He is known when the sun is in the south, led by 4 powerful kings. And he is known for philosophy and humane sciences. He serves the great king of Amaimon and can make a mess among house spirits. He was once from the order of power. Gop is also known as a fallen angel.
Yep, another fallen angel, it seems. So in other words, it's one that's working. You know, originally we placed fallen as possibly broken, but it wouldn't make sense to keep referencing them if they were no longer working and probably got scrapped. So that's where we come from on the fallen now. So, you know, one's correct what you said earlier. Prince, again, you know, say exactly the same again. You know, kings, queens, titles. This is where all modern society gets the titling from. It's coming from the technologies below. So yeah, I have to agree there. And obviously, being a prince, it's obviously got some kind of titlement over other type technologies. Interesting that the center of it as well. You've got the cross in the center with the 4 dots, like what we see on our grid. Very interesting. Over to you, Rose.
So I definitely think it's a piece of equipment as opposed to a process this time, don't you think? And then, even though, because it's giving us a specific place, and it rules, because president means government. So if it's so the way I'm starting to see these is, because it used to once was the order of power, so maybe its physical process changed, but when you actually look at the sigil, like you said, it's also quite symmetrical, and those round bits that we've used with modern day technical terms are usually attached to a line or part of the circuit, where these are hanging about, you know, in like suspended. And I also he serves another one. That's quite interesting too. So it's almost like he's a part of something else that can do more than one function.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's connected to a chain of others, and it's obviously got priority over some, which is what gives it its title as in Prince. But it's connected to obviously to the larger processes going on. So yeah, good deduction. That brilliant.
Well, that would also make sense why he actually has two titles, President and Prince.
Yeah, so he's obviously entitled. You know, he's got entitlement that gives him a piece of geographic location over any others surrounding it. That's what it's suggesting, isn't it?
Yeah, and as a fallen angel, it's something in situ as opposed to a moving part, like what enables the sun return through the underworld.
Yeah, more pieces of the larger mechanism, 100%. Over to you on for 39.
Okay, one more thing on the 38, how it says when the sun is in the south. I just kind of noticed the symmetry going on as well, but I just wanted to reiterate that this one is probably more to the south, whereas the first one we looked at was to the west, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's looking at the four dots with the cross in the center. It's got to be near one of the sectors that we have them in on a grid in the south, obviously.
Yep. And we need to. No, that's it. That's all I have on that one. Next is Furfur, also known as Furter. This one is a powerful great earl. This one rules over 26 legions. This one is compelled to enter a triangle where true answers to every question are given. This one can cause love, create storms, thunder, lightning, and blasts. This one teaches secrets on divine things. He is depicted as a heart or a winged heart. In Latin, it means Bran. Not sure what Bran means. I'd have to look it up.
Wow.
Did you look it up?
I am, but
Very
just
interesting.
wow.
This also comes from the Latin word scoundrel. And he is also known as a thief.
It's very interesting information. I like what you references that triangle there, because you could, if you flip that upside down, you're looking at the pyramid. So it's compressing energy to a point. It's suggesting to me straight away. It's that's exactly what it's doing. We're looking at the magnetism. We're going to get more into that on the next video. But
I
you can
think
see
it
what I
might
mean.
be your volcano one.
Do what?
This might be your volcano.
Yeah,
Because
same process, Rose. It's creating things like that, and also what's generating what we would see and call tornadoes. As it, on an upward flow, it would create the tornado, the vortex that's creating tornadoes.
yeah, because when people
If it's
explain
got the
how the difference of the earthquakes, I mean the volcano eruptions, and some are timed and some aren't.
yeah,
Some are to create, aren't they?
oh yeah,
Well, they're actually all timed because when you think, well, yeah, because when you think of a sense of CERN, okay, let's just compare it to CERN like we did in the past. So the volcanoes are going to be part of these accelerators as far as the dump cycle. So CERN has to have a dump cycle while it's after it's, you know, got all these particles and doing what they do, where they smash into each other and create, and, you know, we're relating this stuff to particle accelerators, but they have to have a dump cycle. So when I place some volcanoes, which not even nearly all, they fall on the outskirts of these different angels, these different accelerators, and they also fall right on the outskirts of known particle accelerators, which they're actually a ton more than we're aware of. You can look up particle accelerators, and there's a massive list of known ones. Not to mention here in the States, there's a whole lot of colleges that are teaching this, which they list them under known particle accelerators. So it kind of makes me wonder, did they build these universities over these things to be able to teach specific students about this process? You know, it just, a lot of questions rise when you get into that. Also, what it
like the reason why MIT is so important, yet also laughed at in other physics laughs at engineers, yet in fact engineers are actually the ones that actually do anything. Well,
right.
Yeah.
It
Well,
also,
going back to the, you know, the what you're looking at there, the pyramid at the bottom. Now that would, to me, would suggest what you would call a left-hand rule on one of the accelerators. It's not pushing upwards. That one would be pushing downwards. A left-hand rule reversing the flow, in other words. So you can imagine we may come across a one similar that's got the pyramid at the top, which would mean an upward directed flow. So on a world model, you know, looking around the world, if it was an upward one, you would see things like tornadoes involved. And of course, on the downward flow, like that one shown there, the best reference I can think of would be a whirlpool.
yeah, that would make sense. It also, when you said downward motion, reminded me of like deep earthquakes too. How the pressure of these would go down. It'd be a very large process, and it would make the earthquake seem very, very deep.
Yeah, and of course, with the nature of this technology, at a certain point, either above or below it, you can have what's called an induction zone, and that's what I think is creating all this lava at that particular point. It's melting everything because there's such a lot of heat generated in the design of this technology. It would make sense. It's an induction zone, and it's just melting rock and everything around it.
yeah, Tesla's death ray, isn't it? The same compression. It's just everything is the same, isn't it? It's just an
Yeah,
expression of the same thing. So, like, when you realise halos and rainbows are just the visual representation of the electromagnetic everything that is going around us, and then you start to think, and then everything is linked, everything is the same.
yeah. You're just decoding more parts of the same, isn't it? It's the same over and over. It's just what we're looking at is different cultures' depictions of how they would, you know, translate it into their native language from the times. That's
As well
exactly
as
what we're looking at.
FPV, as well as deliberately segregating them all,
Yeah, dividing rule.
as well as us mopping up the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, I mean, it does get easier to see for us, doesn't it? And hopefully, anyone that watch our videos, you know, they can start looking at the bigger picture we're seeing. And, you know, it's obvious to us it's going to be slow for people to catch on to a lot of these decodings and research we do, but it's down to their particular fields of interest and knowledge, really. You know, but the good thing with this is we're cross-referencing all kinds and putting it into its proper context again, where it belongs. Back to you one anyway. We're sidetracking there a bit.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so the next one is Marchosius. This one's a Marquise and commands over 33 legions. This one is very strong and an excellent fighter. Also very reliable. Gives true answers to all questions. Marchosius hoped after 1,200 years to return to heaven with the non-fallen angels. This one is depicted as a wolf with a man's form, as well as has griffin wings and a serpent's tail.
Wow, what a lovely description.
Yeah.
And what a pretty sigil.
They're just powerful and reliable, you know, and what was the sentence that answers all questions? You know, obviously it's very well designed, a stable build. That's what it's telling you there straight away. This is, you know, it's powerful, it's reliable, it's stable, and it's fully functional. That's for sure.
A control panel or a circuit board, a junction of some sort. Just look how beautiful it looks. It's symmetrical. There's loads
Yeah,
going
you know,
on.
the symmetry suggests balance, doesn't it? It's bringing balance. You know, it's balancing things out. It's telling me. You got any more info you want to put in that, Rose?
Yeah, wolf is associated with the moon as well. A lot of creation stories, especially in First Blood, First Nations of America, of the Americas, associate wolf. So, also, wasn't there?
That suggests, you know, it probably possibly plays a role in helping guide our moon.
Yeah, like it does seem to be like a. Well, I think it. I'm trying to make them into real things and try to separate them into the processes as physical, mechanical, tangible things as well. So for this one, definitely control panel or something of the ilk for me. Yeah.
It suggests that it's a two-way amplifier as well.
Ooh.
Right, do you want to move to the 41? Yeah.
Yeah. So Stolas is number 41. This one is a great prince and commands over 26 legions. This one is known for astronomy and knowledge of poisonous plants, herbs, and precious stones. This one is depicted as an ether being, a crowned owl with long legs, a raven.
Any more on that one?
No.
Could you just say the beginning a bit again, one, if you could?
Yes. A great prince commands over 26 legions, teaches astronomy and the knowledge of poisonous plants, herbs, and precious stones. This one is depicted as an ether being, a crowned owl, long legs, a raven.
I love the description where it adds, you know, the ether and nature, because clearly, you know, these technologies are having a direct effect on everything around us, including nature. You know, they're part of nature's processes themselves. But yeah, interesting with the ether and plants. So it's, you know, it's suggesting it's got a lot to do with what we would call outside nature, isn't it?
Yes, because it's saying negatively poison plants and herbs and crystals, gems. So it's a negative process.
This one also reminded me of that Nazca line with the bird that has the really long offset legs. You know what one I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what it reminded me of.
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah. When it mentions birds into these, you've got to, you know, start factoring in frequencies there. You know, looking at frequencies in use. You know, like a ground species would be like a medium frequency, high frequency, and above would be bird type creatures. And of course, the deeper frequencies would be like sea life and things down below. Yeah, very interesting. Lovely. And every one of them we look at does look very schematic, doesn't it? You can't hide that anymore.
No. Because already within APM we know through the hieroglyphs that most things that are attributed to birds mean frequency. So the fact that it's a crowned owl raven creature with long legs is a long wave frequency, FM rather than AM.
Yeah, I think you're going into the, you know, the extreme high frequencies, like 5G, you know, those kind of frequencies up there and higher, the gigahertz.
Yeah, this one is also going to be portrayed as an inductor, as well as the way the circles are there at the north part of it, heading towards the east. That is going to kind of portray that it has some kind of a switching going on because of the way the circle is lined and then up and then another circle. That is kind of a switch when you're looking at electrical schematics.
An important reference there as well, you know, what I just mentioned there, but 5G, we know it's harmful. We know they're chopping plants down to get it put in, you know, trees and such, because I do think this technology is going to damage and destroy them. And that's the reference it gives there about nature and poisoning plants is exactly that same process. It's because of the frequencies in use, it can be harmful to certain parts of nature, which we already know 5G is following that same line of thinking, isn't it?
Also, I want to mention here that in chat, Jim Bow said crowned owl Lilith. So he's related it to Lilith as well.
Marvelous. Thank you.
Lovely, a nice reference. Yeah, so definitely related there. Yeah, Lilith. The magnets. We're back to the magnetics again, aren't we?
Yep, we are. And she was a strong one. She tried to overpower Adam.
Yep. And she wasn't destroyed. She ended up with a very important job, it seems.
Important indeed. Yeah.
Okay, so next is Phoenix. Phoenix is a marquise who has 20 legions under his command. This one is known for all wonderful sciences and is an excellent poet and very obedient. Phoenix had hoped to return to heaven after 1200 years. This one is depicted as a phoenix which sings sweet notes. And before I finish this one, the singing is also a frequency. You know, music is a part of the octave. So we're still talking about different notes of the octave, which the octave is part of, you know, the infinity.
Yeah.
this one must warn his companions because he must not be alone, it says. Let's see. Also, it says that he stands still before the conjurer.
Nice wording and information. What I like there was the return to heaven, you know, so it's telling you right there, it's not a projecting luminary. It's obviously got some other type of role, but it wants to return to heaven. Yeah, so it's you know, that's telling me it can either project, but it's been disabled from doing so for whatever reason, and it's still, so you know, it's not one of the traveling types of technology that you know you would associate with the sun's projector, say the sun vehicle. So yeah, very interesting. There's a stationary one. It's got a nice role to play, and it seems to be another reliable type technology, doesn't it?
Riddle me this: how many of the luminaries have a 3-day stationary thing that happen, apart from the sun and the moon? Because the moon has a 3-day disappearing thing every month, and then it has a 3-day full thing every month, and then our sun likes to just stay in the same position for 3 days in particular times of the year. What other luminaries do that? Or is this one of the reasons why you asked me about constellations earlier one? Because the reason why I went ooh was because he doesn't like to be alone. What if he's a leading leading luminary in a constellation?
I'll just answer the bit about the sun being stationary for 3 days. Now, the only time that can appear is when it's at the top of the gates. For instance, 5R, 5F, 5R, 6R, and 6F in the north, and the 3 in the bottom of the south. Because from, say, New Zealand's perspective bubble, it would appear to be in the same location over the course of about 3 months. So I think that's where that's coming from. You know, it's not actually standing still. It just appears to come from the same direction, or it appears in the same location over 3 months. And because of the design of the gates, if you look at the seasons video, you'll see what I mean perfectly. It'll happen in the north and it'll happen in the south, and it'll always will happen because it's the cycle of the gates. So that's where that's coming from. But yeah, you know, interesting. If you can plot other luminaries using the method I used in the seasons video, you can get time and dates information for, you know, like New Zealand's perspective bubble, and see if any others, you know, appear using a compass and time and dates information, and it will show you if any others appear to what they say stand still. I wouldn't be surprised if more of them do it. Hope that helps.
That's exactly what I was pertaining to, FPV. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that because I don't study enough of astrology. I'm sure some people do, and I'm sure they might have an answer. But yeah, just so people know what we had discussed before the stream was I asked Rose, is there any point that these constellations would cross over each other? And the reason I asked her that was because a lot of these are described as animals, but only half of it with maybe another half with it. And I asked her that because just an example would be the lion with a serpent tail. It reminded me of, say, Leo with part of another constellation over it, especially if they were on different layers and crossing across each other. And up in this, you know, the stars, we may see part of Leo, but then we would see the back half of the serpent, say, where they'd kind of be blended and mixed. But I personally don't study enough astrology to have the answer to that. So
On the APM model, what you just described there, the way it would happen in the APM model would be the star halos, which again, it's something we haven't timed ourselves. We don't exactly know how many there is doing it, but it's a case of, if some are traveling faster than others, revolving quicker than others or slower, you will get different kind of constellations appearing, and obviously in the south it's going to be mirrored and reversed. But yeah, I would not expect to see. Well, I would expect to see actually some overlaps if they are revolving at different speeds. That's something we don't know yet because, like one said, we don't know enough about astrology.
I know some. I know.
Yeah, as in, I meant.
Does that make sense? No, FPV. I mean, in the most greatest respect, it is a profession that requires years and years and years and years of study. I have studied it alongside an awful lot of other things in my life. So I have a general understanding. In some things, I have quite a deep understanding, but I am still no astrologer.
Yeah, well, you've obviously looked into it more than one and myself, Rose. So you're ahead of us on that field for sure. You cross-referencing things easy that I've never looked into, but which is a good thing. It helps more and more because more of the picture gets added, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm just re-evaluating my realm with APM eyes as opposed to any eyes that I have previously owned.
And you're doing a fantastic job. Keep it up.
Yes, very much. Also, this one, just to throw it out there, is a fallen angel as well.
Of course it is.
Yeah, so again, more references from other scriptures and cultures.
Almost looks like a building as well.
Yeah, the shapes to me on some of them, I would not be surprised if that's what the sarcophagi actually looks like. You might be looking at a side view or a top-down view of the building that contains various pieces of technology. I've thought that a few times, Rose. You look at these shapes, you can see where, when you look at these shapes, you can see where castle shapes and other things have been designed from, can't you? Geometry is just jumping out, the geometry.
Yes, I agree. They do look like castles. The the top. We talked about that one day. I can't remember what I read. I take in a lot of information every day.
Yeah, it just jumps back at you, doesn't it? You look at things, reference them, put them in the back of your mind, and then one day it'll pop up again.
This next one is Halphus. Okay, so I couldn't really find any information on this one, but when you think of terms of electrical schematics, this particular shape is going to be known as a chopper. So anyone that really understands electricity and how this works, it's a chopper signal. It's also a square, so that's telling me that's some kind of a timing system.
When you said chopper there, I was instantly reminded of the main one, the razor room. You remember that one from the main?
Uh-huh.
The razor room, the chopper. Yeah, what's going on in there? What's getting chopped in there? I wonder. Yeah, but yeah, look at the shape of it. Yeah, and the design that just kind of jumps out geometry wise.
Yeah, and it's a magnet, and it's got those strange round things that are usually attached to the circuit, just floating about in the middle again.
Those circles all represent different kinds of switches. And because of the way those are laid out with the just right across from each other, those are open switches.
We also have to
it's an
remember in
open
the
circuit.
Nazca lines. Sorry, one. Carry on.
No, I was just finishing that it's an open circuit. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, remembering from the Nazca lines, there's also lots of different antennas in use in the Nazca lines, and antennas will be factored into this either as in receiving or transmitting antennas. because they're obviously monitoring and it's timed events and triggers mechanisms going on. And that little thing that looks like the speaker on the bottom left, that right, it reminds me of a dish, an antenna. When I looked at it then, and considered antennas. And it's the same with the ones that you see with the bow and arrow depictions. That could be sending a signal in that direction, or receiving a signal from that direction, depending what's in the archer's hand, I suppose. So yeah, just a little bit more cross-reference in that.
Yep. Nothing more to add, really. We may need to start when we revisit this later on, if we ever get time. When we go into the etymology of the names and things, I think that's when something might be revealed.
Okay, so Malphus is the next one. Malphus is an earl commanding 26 legions. This one is said to have a rough voice. So that's kind of telling me it might be a much lower frequency. This one is also depicted in the shape of a stork. This one builds towers and fills them with ammunition. It's an armor of sorts, also known as a prince, said to send his legions into a battle or to places designed by higher command. Also known as a president, and in that aspect, he's a major.
Wow, doesn't it give them amazing descriptions? The roles that they play and what they're in charge of, and processing and passing it onwards. Yeah, very interesting. I'd like to hear some of that first bit again. When I was going to something on the first bit, I should have wrote it down. But can you reread it again?
Yes. As an earl, this one commands over 26 legions. And this one is depicted with a rough voice. So that to me says a much lower frequency. This one is depicted in the shape of a stork. And he builds towers and fills them with ammunition. This one is an armor. This one's also known as
that was the part one. Yes, that's the bit exactly what I wanted there.
An armor.
Yeah, so all of that part there. Yeah, the voice. Yeah, you were right. I'm thinking, the bird, the deep voice. It's a deep frequency. Now the tower and ammunition. Obviously, I think when it mentions towers, straight, I'm thinking of vortex. The vortex kind of, like a tornado, and what it's thrown into there is what you would call ammunition. It's light particles getting spun around. So that's the ammunition. That's the armor. When you think of armor, you're thinking the first thing you think of is like breastplates and like a knight's armor. But when you think about it, it's an armory. It's filling these vortexes with very useful light particles that will be passed on to those that need them by the description. Yes, what it's telling me is it could be one of the ones that actually helps generate wind and things like that.
Dare I say it's in Asia?
This also, because of the actual sigil itself, one, in an electrical schematic layout, it is known as a heat source. And two, it's a switching because of the way the two triangles are there in the center. But also, that reminds me of the compression where the two become one.
Yeah, the narrowing. Yeah.
Yes.
Would somewhere like China fit on our grid? Or Japan, maybe.
Yeah.
Because stork is a very strong mythical symbol that comes through in that part of the world more than elsewhere.
Yeah, that's
And
definitely locates it that side of the world, doesn't it?
and also the mythology is associated with industry, armor, etc., 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 towers, you know, the Great Wall of China. We know
Yeah.
that it's not just to keep the Mongols out. Maybe it was the Mongols built it to keep the Chinese out. Who knows? Or it was whatever it was actually intended to be created for. But for me, this really, which reinforces again what everybody else has said, but we know birds are a frequency. I agree with one. A rough voice is describing lower. You said things about tornadoes and things, and then I'm still like, but for me, it's a place more east as opposed to west.
Oh yeah, you're going to get them east west. You know, depend on the power of the flow. Really, the faster they spin up, the quicker or larger the tornado could be. You know, I'm not saying they all create tornadoes. Some of them might be just rotating mildly, but you know, it's that rotation, the slow moving vortex. That's all it needs is to create what they're calling ammunition. You know, it's all it's doing is it's moving light particles around. That's that other processes are going to use. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's just
so
my,
real fast, sorry. Jimbo caught my attention in the chat because he's in the chat and he is very proficient when it comes to like electricity and all this stuff. But he said it looks like old TV tubes, tetrodes. He says that he could wire these things. They're follower circuits. The arrowhead points to inflows. They're all directional.
Yeah. Hello, Jimbo. Good to see you again, mate. And yeah, Jimbo's jumps in with the relative and interesting information. Yeah.
He said an induction coil or radiation emitting. I knew he would get this because he knows a lot about this stuff. Jimbo is brilliant and he taught me a whole lot of things when we were all starting this.
yeah, for me, excellent because it just reinforces stuff. Anything I know about any of this stuff is through audio because my father was a telecommunications engineer right from a man and boy when it was analog right up into modern day. So he used to bore me to death with stuff that I never realized I actually needed to know. So that's the only reason why I have any understanding of this stuff. I have no idea about names and things. I just can see how it works and the matched patterns. So that's brilliant that he's here because I sound like I know what I'm talking about, but I don't know anything else apart from just general understanding.
Yeah, excellent stuff. I'm glad Jimbo's in the chat because now he's jumping in with other information. He's saying the second one's a rectifier, full wave rectifier. Fantastic, Jim. Yeah, yeah, that's the kind of people you need. You know, we can give these so many decodings, but you need the electricians and electromechanics out there to look at it and realize what they're looking at. Like Jimbo is. Jimbo's seen it exactly for what it is. The circuitry it's describing. Fantastic, Jim. And as an addendum from Rudy Marley Askett, analog for the bits between 1 and 0. Lovely information, guys. Yeah, you're seeing it.
Yep. I'm glad everybody's kind of jumping in with information as well. I am not, my dad was an electrician, but he basically told me it's very dangerous. Call me. So this is all new for me to learn.
Right, do you want to jump to the next? Which one are we on here? Yeah, we done the last one, didn't we? So we're on 45, yeah?
Yeah, number 45. Oh, by the way, the last one is also a fallen angel. The one we just spoke about. Next, Oh, look at that one. That one's cool. Next is Ram. Again, another fallen angel. Ram is a great earl, also a thief, and he comes from the king's house. And carries it wherever he's assigned. He destroys cities and has great despite unto dignities. He knows things past and present, which that's interesting because a lot of them say future too, and that one doesn't say the future. It just knows past and present. I would say it's some kind of a recorder. He is of the Order of Thrones and has 30 legions. This one is depicted as a crow. Again, Ram is a thief. That's all I have on that one.
Yeah, when I first looked at that one there, it reminded me of a vehicle. When you look at the vehicle, you gotta think, in scriptures it mentions a procession coming out with the sun, and to me that suggests there's more than one, vehicle type projector moving along with them. So it could be, another piece of technology that comes out with the rest. So it's suggesting maybe it's a moving one. It can move around.
Jimbo's moving ahead a bit, but he's calling the next one a yoke coil. And
No,
relay
it's
is the next
relay.
switch.
Relay. This
Yeah.
one is
So
yeah. The fourth, the yoke was the fourth one on the other picture, I think.
oh, okay. So this one would be a relay switch.
But if you're going to shout them out in chat, Jim, for us to add, just put the number, mate, which one you mean, because we're like decoding them numerically. So we're at, where we at 45 now. So 45 onwards. If you see any that remind you anything, just put the number in the chat, mate, and shout it out, and we'll make sure it gets read out for you.
Also, looking at the schematics again, I'm learning this stuff, but so these switches seem to be, because of the way they're laid out, and Jimbo can correct me if I'm wrong because he obviously knows a whole lot more about this than I do, but these would be like shielded wires. Shielded wires and cables as well.
Yeah, it looks that way, doesn't it? Designed inside a shell or some kind.
Diamond shape is a proximity sensor. See that diamond shape? So it's going to sense when things get close to it.
Yeah, and of course, the shape of the sarcophagi that this technology would be sealed in. The 144,000. This is number 45, say, of 144,000 different sarcophagi that's got technologies contained therein.
And the shape of it, if we were to turn it the other way with the A facing north, it almost reminds me of the scarab beetle shape.
Yeah, I thought that as well. That's why, that's why I mentioned sun projector. Anything from you, Rose?
Yeah, actually quite a lot. So the song that I get in my head for this sigil is sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down, you're rocking the boat. To me, it is I think this might be something to do with our halos. Because even the name Ram is very similar to some teachings Masonically to do with Royal Ark Manorers, where they specifically remember Noah, and that's all about rainbows and things. So with everything taken into consideration that's just been said, I think it might actually have something to do with what we've all been seeing. So I'm a little bit...
Definitely unrelated, isn't it? I got that as soon as I looked at it. You know, you're looking at a type of vehicle, either a top-down view or a side profile of what I consider to be a vehicle that contains technology that's moving around inside this vehicle. And it does mention the sun in the description. Yeah, it's definitely part of the, and of course in the name, you've got Ra in the name.
Yeah, which was what I was just about to say again, which is Ra, the solar boat, and what brought us all here in the beginning at 12 gates and da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da. It's just, wow. It's just all the way through that. I was just like, this is either a node or the halo. And then I didn't really look at the sigil first. I was just literally writing notes as one was speaking, and then I looked up halfway through and like giggled, and then was pleased that I was on mute. And then I just had that song from Guys and Dolls musical in my head, Sit Down, You're Rocking the Boat. And then there we go. I'm just saying.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Right, back to you one. We'll move to the next one. I think Jimbo's put a description for the next one in the chat there.
Okay. What number are we on?
We're on 46 now.
46. Okay, that's what I thought. I just want to make sure. Let me get back to my notes. Okay, so Focalar, which I kind of like that name. It makes me think of the eye focusing. Anyway, this one is a duke, a very powerful duke. Commands 3 or 30 legions. This one is a fallen angel. It's also one of the lesser keys of Solomon. It appears in the form of a man with griffin wings. This one is known to kill and drown. This one overthrows warships. This one has power over wind and sea and did hope to return to heaven after 1,000 years. This one is one of 3 what they call archdemons. This one has an intellectual relationship. Yeah, that's all I have on that one.
I love the sea references there. Straight away, I'm thinking whirlpool, the command over the seas and the winds. Okay. Yeah, fantastic again. So you're looking at, another accelerator, aren't you? It's not a projector. It hopes to return to being a projector one day, but currently it's doing some other kind of role.
So let's also read what Jimbo has here. Control gate. Jerry set a magnetic coil inducing current. And releases the current when drops, which I think that's really cool because, in the water we have current, and in electricity we have current. Yeah. So
yeah, one and the same.
I'm going to mute and go potty real fast, but you guys can talk about this one.
Okay, because An archdemon is a lesser key of Solomon. So, from an anonymous grimoire apparently found in the 17th century, lists 72 of the most powerful and prominent demons of hell in its first part of Ars Goetia, which is ARS, separate word, GOETIA. Satan himself is not mentioned among them, considering his overall dominion of hell, allegedly, as the Prince of Darkness. Below him, the Ars Goetia suggests that there are 4 kings of the cardinal directions who have power over the 72, next to the kings and onward with other demons with lower moronic titles. The 4 kings of the cardinal directions are the primary point of contention between different editions and translations and occultist writers. The most common composition of the kings are, now guess what? In case you hadn't already guessed, guys and girls, it's going to be north, south, east and west. King of the East, Amiaon, Amaymon. King of the West, Corson, Corson. King of the North, Ziminar, Ziminiar. King of the South, Gaap. Then there proceeds to be several others after that, which is King Baal, Bael, and quite a lot of people may be familiar with that one. And then you have King Paimon, Paimon, King Beleth, Beleth, King Person, Purson, and I do believe we covered that sigil in the first of the part 1 of these. Then we have King Asmodee, Asmodey, King Vine, Vine, with a little thing above the E, King Balam, Balam, King Zagan, Zagan, and King Belal, Belial. And that's just a quick search. And I'm trouted.
Happens every day, just about, doesn't it? Yeah, excellent cross-referencing, Rose. Lovely information, that. Another thing, well, I remember, the archdemon, immediately it reminded me of the rainbow. The arch, we're seeing an arc. Now, going back to rainbows, what we want you guys to do, if anyone's out there time-lapsing or recording rainbows, we would like you to time-lapse them, because you're going to find some are stationary and some actually revolve. They revolve on the, in a certain spot, and they never change. And what we're going to show in our next video is how these are actually part of the workings of the realm, how they factor in, and what's moving and why. You're going to see a bit more of that in one of our next videos. But yeah, research-wise, definitely time-lapse rainbows. You might get a nice surprise, because they do look amazing when you see them in time-lapse moving. And they are definitely revolving either clockwise or counterclockwise.
Jimbo said Watergates. Sorry, I'm back. But he said Watergates, question. So.
Yeah, Watergate's interesting. We get the gates of water, and then we get rainbows. A good connection, that, when you think about it.
All's good. It's like even the connection with archdemons through unusually Zoyaism, which is a obscure little religion. So I need to. That's another thing. That's a new rabbit hole I need to now go down. Thank you very much.
So, anything else on this one?
No, it's me finished on 46 one.
Okay. So 47 and 48 are both Vepar. And we've seen this before, where there are two with the same name, however, their sigils are different, slight differences. Last time we said this could possibly be in two different areas, if I remember correctly, on opposite sides, perhaps. So Vepar is a strong great duke, rules over 29 legions. He governs the waters and guides armored ships laden with ammunitions. If requested, he can make the sea rough and stormy and appear in full to ships. Vepar can make men die in 3 days. Vepar has been depicted as a mermaid.
Is that the one? Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Lovely descriptions there. Yeah, and you look at the sigils again. You know, you're looking at switching. It could be, you know, it suggests to me it's capable of switching. And going by the description, it can, you know, switch modes. Let's say switch modes on demand. You know, if it needs storms, it can help generate a storm. Of course, being below the water, it seems, because it's got control in the waters. It's a guardian of others, so it's helping. I would call a guardian in this situation. You know, imagine, you know, the sun projector coming towards it in the underworld, and this has now got to supply more fuel for it to keep it going, and it's got its own process to do. That's exactly what it was showing me there. It's related in the process to keep things moving, going east to west, and also being able to appear to sailors. Obviously, you're going to see a water phenomenon such as either a whirlpool or a water spout, depending if it's left hand or right hand rule.
For me, I agree entirely. Astrologically, and all mariners travel along the realm astrologically. It doesn't matter if they have an astrolabe or GPS, it's still the same thing.
Oh yeah, well I remember if you look at the two images, you've got the crosses on the right raised a lot higher than the one on the left. So, you know, that there would probably suggest to me that would create a water spout. It's pushing through the ground. Imagine that snake going through the center. The line through the center is the equator. Now that snake shape appearance would be the ground plane being stretched by the projections. So that would create, you know, your water spout. It's putting a bump in the ether, basically, a few bumps in the ether, and the opposite one would obviously be in a reverse type role.
You know what I see here? Jimbo said an aquafire control. What I see is in the first one, see how everything is real shut in and closed inward? And in the second one, it seems like it's opened up. That's what that's telling me, is whatever this is, it can shut down and it can open up for the storms and the crazy chaos in the waters.
Yeah, makes sense. It's capable of switching roles, and the one on the right is obviously the one that I would imagine would create the storms. It's thrusting upwards electromagnetic fields.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why it dies for 3 days. We have stationary for 3 days, like when we have our luminaries, like I previously said, stationary or whatever. This is actually die for 3 days. So that is a definite process, isn't it, of and off?
Oh yeah, definitely off. Yeah, shut down for 3 days and come back. Well, that suggests that it could be related to the moon, then, doesn't it?
Possibly, because mermaids is female energy. Female energy is associated with the moon. Mermaids aren't like sirens, where they are making sailors go off course. They're more of a distraction, but at the same time, they know that they're going to be there. There's a whole tradition about the underworld in just the watery realm before we even get to the mechanics.
That also could make sense how science relates the moon cycle with the water, the flow, the tides. You know,
Yeah.
if it's shutting down and opening up and shutting down and opening up, that in a sense would absolutely make tides. They
Oh
would
Yeah.
yeah.
go out and come back in and go out and come back in. It would be
that's the visible phenomenon that you mentioned, that it can appear to sailors. Yeah, it's it's got to do with tides, hasn't it?
yeah, that one's the
Fantastic.
tides.
Yeah, it relates to the tides. How cool is that?
So
Awesome.
people, when you're talking about the tides, make sure you mention Vipar. That was the one, right?
That's so cool.
Yeah.
But look, that just, and the coil. Yeah.
Yeah, it's creating waves. It's as simple as that. It creates waves. Look at it.
Nothing to do with gravity, peeps. Nothing.
No, the waves we're talking about is the ground planes waves being stretched by these three magnets you've got elevated above them. That's what's stretching the electromagnetic data upwards, which is what was series recorded on the maps, on the overlays he showed us. We'll show them. I'll add an overlay to that sometime. But you know the ones I mean, the magnetic data. You can see it stretching it up.
Yeah, because everything is contraction and expansion and just an expression of the same thing. This is what we've got to start to remember. This is why the APM works, because everything just fits into the grid, where everything else is just hanging questions or hypothesis highs. Hypothesis. One day I'll get my teeth fixed, but it's just, isn't it? It's just one of the reasons why we know that this is more likely to be what our realm looks like than any other version that is presented to us. It's because no matter what we do, no matter what discipline we research, it fits, and it's just an expression of the same thing again and again, because everything is just compression and expansion.
It really is. And if you look at the wave, you've got a sine wave there. What it's showing you there, it's manipulating the wave into like a sine wave. Perfect. Manipulating waves. That's exactly what it's doing. Awesome stuff, guys. Sine waves, There's your waves, there's your troughs. That's your electrical terminology right there. Back over to you, one. One must be busy. Let's chat on, Rose, till one gets back.
Well, what would you like to chat about? There's an awful lot of stuff that we could talk about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. Very cool that though, isn't it? When you see two, it's okay, one.
I'm here.
We'll hand it over to you.
Okay. I'm trying to also get my stuff a little.
Are we finished on 38? Because I'll get to the next ones if we are.
Yes. So next is 49. Yeah. Let's move forward. 49 is Sabnok. So Sabnok is a marquise. A great and mighty marquise who reigns over 50 legions. Sabnok builds very high towers and furnishes them with weapons and ammunition. Sabnok is depicted as a soldier with armor, the head of a lion riding a pale horse.
There's your scriptural pale horse rider. How cool is that?
Yeah. I think in the last one we did of these, there were other horses, weren't there, mentioned? But yeah, this
Yeah.
one's
Yeah, I
the
think there
pale
was only
horse.
2 out of all of the first half of horses.
Again, with this one, we're looking at tower ammunition. It's supplying the energies required for others to work, isn't it? It's a workhorse, part of the workhorse team. That's what it's looking at to me.
But pale could suggest weak.
The horse reference, when you look in the image, there is actually what looks like a stirrup. You see it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. If it was flipped upside down, you could literally put your foot in it. But what's that is that ladder thingy anything to do with modern day electrical stuff?
Could very
Oh,
well be
4 pillars.
I think it
I
like
think
a
is.
I was
scale.
saying 4 pillars, but I'm not sure if that's what. Oh,
No,
4 pillars is interesting. What do you mean, Jimbo? 52 has 4 boxes. We're only on 49.
Yeah, we're on 49. Is anything for 49 off anyone in chat?
I need to go farther up. 45 spells Maru. Are we on 45 yet? No.
the ladder that though we depicted in the past as the energy does like a climbing. It could be the ascension of the luminaries, right?
Could be, or an increase in power.
Increasing power. It could be taken either way.
Yeah, especially if you remember what I was explaining earlier, how regardless of where you are on the plane, northern or southern hemisphere, the constellations only tilt in one direction or the other by a short amount of degrees, but overall they are going anti-clockwise. So you're always going to sit. Does that make sense? So I don't know.
Yeah, we can wander off a bit, and that's what happens, isn't it? Can
Second
it be?
guessing.
Can it do this? Can it do that? Yeah, there's no harm in it. I'm in a bit of speculation and trying to figure out exactly what this process is doing. We may never get all of them or understand all of them in the real way they need understood, but we have to show the references and cross references, and it's all this, like we keep saying, it's all the same thing, just different depictions.
Agreed. And people also need to understand that all 3 of us may have independently researched this, as well as bringing our own expertise and knowledge. But this is our first conversation. People are hearing what we would normally do in private before we create a video. And I think that's important too, because this is quite private for us, really, isn't it?
Not only that, Rose. We haven't rehearsed this or anything. This is us actually doing it live, which is something we don't really do a lot of, because the main reason being it can take hours and hours. But a subject like this, I don't really mind anymore. If it takes 4 hours, it takes 4 hours. We've just got to get our heads together, all put our information and pieces in, and you start seeing the bigger picture form. It's always relating to the same thing. And what people are seeing here is views and information from 3 different people's aspects of research they've looked into themselves.
Yeah, and this is truly about having several different time zones, different levels of obligation to life, the universe, and everything, and our need to do this because it's necessary.
Yes, we've got to put everything back into its original context, and then we see the construct, put the construct back where it belongs. This is the construct coming back together.
Okay, so the next one is Shax. Shax is number 50. Shax is a great marquise and has power over 30 legions. And these ride evil horses. He can take away the sight and hearing and understanding. Shax is known as a thief. He has stolen money out of the king's houses, also steals horses. Shax can discover hidden things if they are not kept. Shax should not be bothered very often. He's known as obedient. Also, Shax is affiliated with a magic triangle. He speaks with a hoarse voice, but his voice can change into a beautiful one when he enters the triangle.
Wow. Interesting word, isn't it?
Very, very interesting.
Evil, we can look at the word, evil now, because going by what you're saying there, you can relate evil now actually meaning more something like harmful. It can cause harm, due to certain frequencies, for instance. It goes into obedience there, so it's obviously runs, and it's obviously another reliable type technologies. But they're interesting with the triangle as well, and the voices. So it's telling you, that it can switch to a higher note. So yeah, very cool stuff. It just falls, it's just more of the same again, isn't it?
Yeah, and we can see that depicted in the photo. See that how in the slender part of that, the switches are open wide, but they come up into the point as they enter the larger part of that sigil. So that could be where it switches from being two separates into one. That could be where it's entering the triangle for the change of the frequency, which it would, because that would be when two frequencies become one.
Yeah. Oh, you can also look at it narrowing. Getting, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the right, and then it goes down to, looks like 5 or 6 again, then it narrows down to 1. What Jimbo said in chat, 50 looks like a CRT, a cathode ray tube. That's what Jimbo's impression straight away of the Nazca lines was. When we decoded the Nazca lines, he said it's kind of behaving like a CRT monitor. It's projecting into the heavens, which is, that falls exactly in line with what we're saying. The sun projector is a projected image from below, an electromagnetic projection, and this is how CRT monitors behave.
It's just completely, it's one of those diverse processes again that can do more than one function without needing a separate order, which is what I think when we have the same name is. It's a separate order, but for a slightly different process that happens simultaneously. This is something that is self-contained. Again, I hate to look at the shape, but it's self-contained. You've got your magnet to the south, but to the west, everything is on, but connected this time. And I have to admit, the symbol inside, where the one told us that the floating circle is an on as opposed to an attached to the circuit, which is off. Those are the hands, or that is an actual Egyptian hieroglyph, where it's just the two hands pointing up.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're gonna see that. Obviously that jumped out to you straight away was the hieroglyph connection. I've seen a couple that reminded me of that, but yeah, I should have mentioned them as well. But yeah, well reminded. We need to keep cross-referencing. So yeah, spot on.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, there's just so much to look at, isn't there? And tie it all back in.
I can't wait for the next one.
So the next one, then we'll move along, is Vine. Vinny. It's Vinny, sorry. Vinny is known as a king or a count, also an earl. It's also depicted as a male and female, king and queen, commanded by Satan. Vinny creates storms and makes the waters rough by means of these storms. It can bring down walls and build towers. This is portrayed as a lion holding a snake riding a black horse. In etymology, their name seems to be stemming from the Latin word vinia, which also is the name given to an ancient war machine made of wood and covered with leather and branches. It's used to overthrow walls. Vinny commands 36 legions. He knows of the past, present, and future, can discover hidden things. Yeah, that's what I have on that one.
That's really brilliant, but I was unfortunately interrupted. May I ask you very kindly, could you repeat that?
Yes.
I'm very sorry.
That's okay. Vinny is a king, count, and earl. It's also depicted as male and female, a king and a queen, commanded by Satan. It's known for creating storms and making waters rough by means of these storms. This one can bring down walls and build towers. This one is portrayed as a lion holding a snake in their hand, riding a black horse. The etymology of this name seems to be stemming from the Latin word venia, which is also the name that was given to an ancient war machine made of wood and covered with leather and branches. It's used to overthrow walls. This one commands
Fantastic.
over.
Oh, sorry, carry on.
Okay. This one commands
Just the
over.
name Jericho.
This one commands over 36 legions. And can tell present, past, and future, and also discovers hidden things.
Wow, amazing that. I was decoding that as you were going along. Right, so right, so it can I've decoded quite a bit there. Right, it can be controlled by Satan. So obviously, Satan being another piece of technology, it can switch it on and off. Now, these walls and pillars, it's mentioning here. Now, your walls in my decode would actually translate as a tsunami, and your towers would be the water spouts. Obviously, it's water related. Now, you got a left hand rule, right hand rule there, so it can probably well, it's saying it can switch. It can, probably create whirlpools as well, depending what Satan requires it to do. Nothing to be afraid of here, guys, with Satan. Satan's just a technology. Scripture tells you Satan runs the world, or words to that effect. And what you're looking at is Satan is a big piece of technology that's got control over others. It's as simple as that. This is what we're looking at. That's my input on it. Jimbo says Vinny is a square wave generator. Oh, how's that, guys? A square wave generator, just what we've been seeing at the NASCAR lines. I'll pass over to you, Rose.
Thank you very much. What can a girl say? You just I love APM because it just keeps proving me I'm not crazy. I don't mind being crazy, but I am not. This excites me loads because of a little thing that sideways back chat a little while ago. I again about stationary luminaries and things, and I went, has anyone looked into Joshua? And you were like, yeah, one did glossed over something in one of our stuffs, and then I genuinely can't remember what it is because I genuinely like one, and everybody else that does any real research is constantly bombarded with stuff on a daily basis, and we don't know really where we are. But I do remember that she did something specifically on Joshua, his horn, and the story thereof, and what that related to our son. This is the story of Joshua, and then you look and it's a face and it is perfect. So horn is ram, it looks like it could be a cow or a sheep's face, and that's what they use to create this sound. Yep.
Awesome information, Rose. Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? Where the shapes are coming from, where it's getting these shapes and depictions. I forgot to mention on the other one that we mentioned one before that had wings. We have to, when it adds wings to these, they're obviously capable of projecting something into the sky. So I thought I'd better add that.
Yeah, because it's all about just, especially because we've got the same magnet at the bottom, but it's in an enclosed arch. We know what that is. That's a projection. And then you've got all this other stuff, but it looks like a face, which could be either a ram, or it doesn't matter if it's a sheep or a bull. They're both relevant because, again, it's in spring.
Yeah. Electrically speaking, at the top of the design, you can see the waves there being pushed upwards and the kind of square shaped, I suppose. But the square wave, it's creating a square wave, and obviously that's involved in creating these columns or tsunamis and other processes. Pretty cool when you relate to what's actually that's relating to in nature, isn't it? You can see nature. Now you're looking at the cause of nature. This is what we're decoding, guys. These are the causes of most of nature's processes is technology, 100%.
Yeah.
Right, back to you, Juan.
Okay. Where are we at? 52? Bifrons?
Yep, 52 next, yeah.
Okay. Let me find where I'm at here. We go quite a bit back. Hold on. Okay. So Bifron is a count and an earl, and he resides over 60 legions and teaches sciences and arts, also the virtue of the gems. The origin of the name is a Roman god, Janus. He also teaches about woods and herbs and changes corpses from their original graves into other places, sometimes putting on magic lights that seem like candles. He can appear as a monster, but then changes his shape to a man. That's what I have on this one. This one is pretty crazy as far as the sigil itself goes.
Yeah.
I would say what the sigil's showing us one is, it could be the underworld at the bottom, and that bit with all the squiggling and the little circles could be, represent the ground above. And there could be the little gems, because it does mention gems there, and how it has an effect on minerals. So it tells me it's, you know, it's involved in the process of forming minerals and such. And it also seems to come with a visual phenomena, which we can relate to UFOs from the video you spoke about, where, you know, some of these UFO sightings that people see, lights, you know, this random flashing lights here and there. It's like visual phenomena that you've touched on before.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
definitely.
agree. It is
Um,
the way it's pointing down is under, but it's still the way the sigil is prominent and important. So it's not a lesser function. It is a great function that needs to be represented below the line of sight almost.
yeah. Bifrons is also associated with mathematical arts. What I see is, yes, the squares being in the underworld is the timing system of what's showing above. It's showing the connection from the below to the above.
Yeah, because it is a count. And I'm sorry, Sesame Street, but you know, you did teach me math. And these things are for a reason. It's very it may I even say it looks like a spider?
You
It does
can
look
say that.
insect-like. It does look insect-like, doesn't it? But yeah, you know, what I find interesting with that one, you know, we're going to come across some more like this, because this one here being, you know, associated with minerals and gems and such, there's going to be more and more of them, because as you see on the birthstones, you know, every location in the world it differs. So what you're looking at there is different coloured ones because of the what it's the elements it has to interact with in the creation processes of all these materials. So, you know, it makes sense. That's why we're getting different colors. There's different configurations, and the soil type and such is different above it as well. So that's why we're getting different colors in the gems.
I agree. Yeah, in this instance, I don't see a particular place, but I do see a creation of something.
Yeah, there's creators, maintainers, and destroyers, and you know that's definitely a creator type one right there. Should we move to the next?
Yes. So the next is going to be number 53, which is Vual. Again, we have two of the same here. Let me make sure. Yeah, so Vual has 53 and 54. So we can talk about those together. Vual is a great duke. He resides over 37 legions, tells the things of the past, present, and the things to come. Vual speaks the Egyptian language. He gives love and causes friendship. Vual is depicted as a dromedary, and after that changes shape into a man. Vual has a deep voice. Which that is very interesting. The deep voice I would have associated with
Yep.
a lower frequency, but it's giving love and friendship, which is to me a higher frequency. Love being the highest of all. And isn't dromedary, would that be associated with the constant, like a dromeda?
It could very well be Andromeda,
Yeah, both.
or the camel reference may actually relate, you know, to heat. It could be producing a lot of heat, like you would possibly find under a desert.
Well, what I feel like in a camel depiction is that it would hold something too. Camels have 2 humps. They hold water that can last for days and days and days.
Yeah.
It's definitely some kind of...
And there is 2 there, isn't it? It's got 2 rolls. When you see the one on the right, it's the only difference really is the magnet seems to have rotated round some. But yeah, seems to be like guidance, doesn't it? When you look at that, it could be like switching and guiding.
That's what I was about to say. It's definitely some kind of a timed switching. Yeah. The second one on the east side of it, the tube became much longer. So it tells me that the switching to that part from the left to the right one, it has moved up, you know, and same what you said, the magnet, it's done a shift.
Yeah, and
So
the top surface of each one, you know, that could represent a waveform. And you see how it's changed between one and the other. I'm not saying it's, you know, I'm not saying that is the waveform or a waveform, but it looks like that kind of switching would cause a waveform change to me.
anything else to add to Vual?
No, not from me one. Anything from you, Rose?
No, not really. But it does intrigue me. But maybe for a later date. Because it looks like an Egyptian.
Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
curious, does it look like the constellation Andromeda at all?
I don't know the constellation.
I don't either.
I have a tickle, but I don't know what. You know when, you know, because this is literally now. So, but at the same time, it still just looks like the bangles, in it. Walk like an Egyptian. I've got music references all over the place this evening. Lovely.
I know what you're talking about, the way they do their arms and such through the song and the video, yeah. Okay, so we'll move on to 55, which is Hagenti. Hagenti is a great president ruling over 33 legions. He can make wisdom and instruct people in every subject. Hagenti transmutes all metals into gold and changes wine to water and water into wine. Hagenti is depicted as a big bull with wings of a griffin. That's what I have on Hagenti.
I like the reference there with the metals. Yeah, you know, we've been talking about that, haven't we? About how gold and silvers and various metals are formed, and we've related that before in the Power and Glory video of the star halos and shooting stars and such. The wing, obviously, another one that's got wings, so it's capable of projecting something into the sky. Now, it doesn't have to always be a luminary, because now we've got rainbows to consider. Because you know, it's the same again. These are a projection pushing upwards. So you know, rainbows, anything in the heavens, whether it be rainbows or anything like all the way up to stars, you have to consider all these as projections, and all this technology is, you know, either projecting it or involved in keeping it running and keeping the power running for it, so to say. The ball reference again, a big torus. So you look, yeah, you know, you're looking at giant magnet of some kind there, revolving magnet perhaps, which would suggest to me like a revolving rainbow.
What I see here is a definite process. So you start out in the east with all this switching. That reminds me the 3 to the east of this picture, of the 3 sets of gates. When you come through, you have all these timing systems, which are the square generators here. and it's producing all of this alchemy going on in the underworld, which is, it's leading to some kind of a process. You have your magnets involved, and when you get to the end, here at the top of the western side of this sigil, the triangle on top reminds me of, say, the bowl in Egyptian that relates with the bowl that the alchemy is done in, that the leftovers is kind of stored in, put in.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. And look at it as well. You're looking at, if that's representing the equator across the center, you've got square waves above and below it. It's modifying waves again, isn't it? You're looking at that, if they represent waves, because we have to keep putting the waves in there. And another thing, the 33 legions. Now, here's a quick decode of legions, guys, that might help. What I think legions is now is it's actually representing leagues. Because if you remember, you measure the water depth in leagues, so like 20,000 leagues below the sea. That that has to apply going upwards and downwards from, say, ground level. So leagues can not only go downward if we're talking in liquid forms, which we are in the sky, because it basically behaves as a liquid, and it's full of particles and such. So these leagues, 33 legions, could be a depth. You could be talking depth there, or either in altitude or going down below the seas.
Completely, because if you understand that outer space is ether, as opposed to what we are meant to believe, which is an ever expanding nothingness with unprovable dark stuff that allows all of this to happen, but actually absorb and feel and see that yes, we are in something. There is an outer space, but it is far from what we have been packaged it as, because it can't be.
Yeah, makes sense to me, doesn't it?
Yeah, and for me, it's only because I hesitate because it's me saying out loud in public as opposed to in private, and that's all. That's why this is very precious to me, because this is us having a private conversation with everyone hearing us, and I am excited about all the input because I know all of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't you hold back, lass. You give it all you've got. We've got, this hour. We may never revisit sigils again, but so now's the time to get everything in there we possibly can. I know we probably will revisit it at some point in time as we learn more and progress more. We can look back and say, we can fix this, we can fix that. We know exactly what that means now, and such and such. This is how it's going to happen. But yeah, very cool stuff.
Okay, so the next one is Crocel, which is a duke. Crocel manifests as an angel with a tendency to speak in dark and mysterious ways. He was once a member of Powers and now is a duke. He rules over 48 legions and can teach geometry and other liberal sciences. He is known to warm bodies of water and create the illusion of sound of rushing waters. Also, Crocel can reveal the location of natural baths. He is associated with water. Yeah, that's what I have on that one.
Lovely stuff. Yeah, I like the reference there to the geometry, because we're looking at like quake information one. The geometry, it's helping increase landmass. That's exactly what we see with the quakes, isn't it? We get the upward rising, and all of a sudden we got land masses appearing. So yeah, I think that's when they reference geometry like that. I think it's referencing, it can have effects on the landmass.
What I see in this picture is the down below is it has on the two sides the coils. To me, that would be, since it's talking about warm bodies of water, it's the heating coils. As we rise from the magnetics, it goes into a compression point, and when you get to the surface, which is the top of the, well, to me it looks like a chalice. That kind of looks like a volcano on the surface with possibly water around it. That's just how I see that sigil.
Yeah, I was going to make exactly the same reference when I started looking at it more then. You've got the larger one at the bottom, the smaller one at the top, it's being directed. So at some point in that design, you can have the induction zone, what I mentioned earlier. And straight away, that reminds you of molten rock and lava and, of course, the volcano. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much bang on. And that's what's creating the volcanoes. It's this model here. What we're looking at, this one is, one of the ones that would create the volcanoes, for sure. It has to be.
Boogeyman says the sigil on the far right, which is the one we're speaking of now, is an exact duplicate of the one used on a show called Diablo on Stars.
I don't know the show. Hey, Boogeyman.
I don't
Hi,
either,
guys,
but he says it appears to read something like, the glory of God rests upon the wings of the angels and holds the same importance as the Holy Grail. Yes, that's why I used the chalice, because that's what it reminded me of, was the Holy Grail, the chalice.
I know, close. The glory of God. Oh, carry on, I thought you finished.
No, that's all I had to say. That's why I referred to it as a chalice, because I was trying to think of the term Holy Grail, but my mind went blank. So chalice was all I could think of at that point.
Well, go back to the glory of God. Yeah, what you're looking at is the Creator's glory is a technological glory. This is what's been hidden. People say, why would they lie about the shape of the world? Well, if there's technology involved, there's there's your cause. But anyway, we're going back to the glory of God rests upon the wings of angels. The wings of the angels being the projections in the heavens. That is the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail is the knowledge and access to and information on these technologies.
Boogie also said that he is seeing sigils from the Enochian alphabet. Yes, and he's translating. Well, so these are known as the Enochian sigils, but I've also found them under the Solomon seals. So they're actually two different things that are the same, maybe. And a lot of these we're going through have different titles, but they're also known as Solomon's demons, but they're also known as fallen angels. So, a lot of these things that we're learning are the same things, just different, areas of the world. Yeah, different areas of the world have different names for the same thing. Just like our Jesus. I mean, how many names in different parts of the world have you heard Jesus in the same story told over and over? You've got Horus and you've got Jesus, and even Mexico has one called Jesus, but it's spelled Geesus. There's all kinds of the same depiction happening in different parts of the world and religions.
Yeah, if he's just jumped in, it seems. So yeah, Boogeyman. That's what we show. That's why we do these kind of streams and the research we do. We're showing everyone the connections all mean the same thing. It doesn't matter which race, religion, culture, or whatever. Wherever in the world the people are from. All these glyphs that we decode. Geopetro hieroglyphs, sacred geometries, scriptures. They're all telling the exact same story, and it's the story about the underworld, the luminaries, and the workings. It's not about people. It has never been about people. You've got to take people out of the equation in scriptures and factor in what they're talking about is pieces of technology that's been given name, sex, and character to help define its role. And over the course of time, and of course, we've been put into written language. People now pick a book up, they read a book, and they bring those characters to life. Those ancient glyphs and such, they're not telling you these represent people. And it's nothing to do with sun worship. They're showing you how the world works in glyph form. That's exactly what we're trying to tell people. They're all telling the same story. They're telling you how the world works and everyone depicted it everywhere in various types of glyph form, which obviously was the writing at the times.
Also, I Am Earth Baby said the writing of the angels, the celestial language. That's exactly right. This is a direct key. The Enochian sigils are known as the language of the angels. So you're spot on. This is a key. This is a key to show the processes that these pieces perform and what the angel language is, which is actually an electromagnetical perfection, really. It's on a perfect timing system. This is what our creator gave us. All of these pieces are in the underworld and performing their processes that they were assigned by creator. They cannot leave. They cannot leave their spot. They can't, not do their job. That's what an angel is. An angel is not a winged creature that comes down from the heavens. An angel is actually projecting the heavens upward.
Yeah. Yeah, I Am Earth Baby says angel means angle. No, it doesn't, mate. What we've decoded is angels are the creators' technologies. That's where the halo association comes from, like the sun halo that we're seeing in the skies. Some of them project halos and others don't, because this is exactly what we decode angels as. It's the creators' technologies.
Boogie said,
Or in scriptural terms, it's the 144,000 sealed below. Sealed as in sarcophagi, large rooms where this technology has been sealed and contained. Carry on.
I was going to say, Boogeyman said the word creates life, vibration, frequency, and sound, forming matter. Exactly. It says in scripture, God spoke the world into creation. That is the frequency, the vibration, and the sound. You're absolutely right. I think that is the original language.
Yeah, and creating life. You're looking at, just look at the magnet. That is that's your tree of life. The tree of life in APM research is the magnet, because all this comes from the magnet. You can go back to our Adam and Eve decode of Lilith. Again, it's talking about the magnet. It's always been about the magnet, guys. So, this is what humans have been taught, how magnetics work and how to harness it. And, clearly everyone everywhere knew how it works. That's the important thing. Everyone around the world, doesn't matter where you lived, they were all being taught the same thing. Right, back to you. Where we are. Do you want to jump to the next one, or have you got input to put on this one, Rose?
Yeah, I was going to ask Rose, do you have anything before we move along?
Only to highlight that this was specifically called a dark angel, where in other descriptions it was either fallen. And just to highlight the arc demon thing that we had a couple of sigils ago as well, nothing else specifically that would either support anything that was given anything else. It's just a tickle, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay, so next we'll go on, if you want to move it, to number 57.
Yeah, moving ahead. I'll put a little pause there, so it gives me time to actually pause it.
Yeah.
There we go. 57's up.
Ooh, that's a nice one. Okay, so 57 is Furkos, and Furkos is a knight. The rank of knight is unique to him. He rules 20 legions. The etymology of his name is derived from Latin, the word furca, meaning fork, or from Greco-Roman, meaning sepulchre, which is a tomb. Furcos is a knight, and let's see, teaches philosophy, astronomy, rhetoric, logic, chiromancy, and pyromancy. He is depicted as a strong old man with white hair and a long white beard, riding a horse while holding a sharp weapon, possibly a pitchfork. He comes forth in the similitude of a cruel man. He teaches philosophy. Let's see, I already said all that. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have on that one. As they brought the fork, though, about, it reminded me of some of the electrical schematics, which is it's showing that it says it's a data bus. That's what it's described as when you're looking at electrical schematics.
Yeah, it does look like something like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's also going to be a two-way repeater with 4 lines.
Wow, that's like the Nazca line one with the parrots. The parrot, you know, it had the parrot also was attached to a 2-element Yagi beam, which is a directional antenna. Very cool.
Yeah.
I like the reference there to a tomb as well, because again, you're looking at a sarcophagi, you know, so it's obviously in a tomb, or it relates to a tomb.
It actually does look like 3 tombs next to each other.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. And of course, the astrology references again, which maybe Rose if Rose has got any info on the astrology references.
Well,
I
no,
can't see anything else to put into that, but so I'll pass it to you, Rose.
no, because night is a protector. So what we think about traditionally is a knight is a protector, and this is so uniform and beautiful. And we've got these beautiful on switches in the middle of lots of off switches, and we've got this again. We've got 2 magnets, and then another triangle. Fork as well. Fork is spiritually, a fork in the road is a decision. So it could be a joint or a junction of something.
That fork could actually represent lighting as well when you think about it. Lightning.
It
Because
could.
it's looking at it, it almost is focusing on something, isn't it? And there's an outcome.
Yeah, what will the outcome be today, people? Stay tuned.
I don't know. I'm just learning as we go.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, we've got to, you know, I can see us coming back to these at some point in the future. You know, we're going to look back and say, ah, and now I see you.
Definitely. It's like, seriously, how much stuff do we like surf over? And then you're like, I know this is important and I need to stick a pin in it, but I have no idea when I have a chance to have a look at it.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah, we keep making these videos. We've got videos we can reference, go back to. Yeah, I mean, we've noticed that before. You know, you go back to some of the older videos, we're pretty much on form. Nothing's really changed. The only thing we did change really was the alignment of the grid slightly to match new data and information. Other than that, you know, it's pretty much the same.
And the meaning of fallen angels.
Definitely. Next.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, is there anything else on this one that we want to add?
No, that's it for me, one.
Okay. So next is Balaam. Let me find it. Sorry, I'm multitasking here. Balaam is a great and powerful king. To some, they call him a duke or a prince. He commands over 40 legions. He gives perfect answers on things of past, present, and those things to come. He is known as being three-headed. One head is the head of a bull, the second of a man, and the third is a ram. He has flaming eyes and the tails of a serpent. He carries a hawk on his fist and rides a strong bear. At other times, he is represented as a woman riding a bear. His name seems to be taken from Balaam, the biblical magician. He's also a fallen angel. I haven't been saying that, but of all the ones that we're talking about today, 27 of these are fallen angels, as well as being known as Solomon's demons, as well as being depicted as the Enochian Sigils, which is the language of the angels. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Right, you throw it out there, lass.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like the reference there to man and woman, male and female. What you're looking at again is left-hand rule, right-hand rule. It's obviously capable of switching polarities and reversing, what it does one day. So, going from like a tornado to a whirlpool kind of reference. That's the effects you would see would be something similar to that. So it's switching. It can switch both ways. That's what we've got to look at them now. When it mentions it can be male or female, it's capable of switching and reversing what it does.
yeah, and the heart again is a pump. It's an action and right opposite the magnet as well this time.
Yeah. And those humps are inductors on the east side of the sigil. So it's inducting from the switch. So it's switching in, it's inducting whatever the energy, the electromagnetism. The arrow to me shows a direction that it'll flow. The magnet itself is going to flow upward, so it's an upward pressure, while the electrical current is going to cross over it, and it's going to come to this 3 points of more switching. I see another directional arrow that does look like a little serpent's tail, like a little devil tail.
Yeah, well, you think of the magnet switching. Yeah, you're looking at electromagnetic switching, which we've seen them do. I mean, Roy's displayed that himself. Remember Roy, St. Vincent? He was showing you doing it live. Electromagnetically switching magnets, polarities. Pretty cool stuff.
Because it is sitting on a certain and that spits fire.
Fire comes out of his eyes.
Oh, eyes. Sorry. So that's a different process altogether.
Which that reminded me of the book of Noah, actually, and some of the descriptions of the angels in the Bible, how they have flaming swords coming out of their eyes, and in the book of Noah.
Yeah.
I think what it's referencing there, is the different forms of lightning and lights that we see in the sky. Your sprites, your lightnings. You better, even Enoch mentions these different forms of lightning, doesn't he?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Right, we'll move on then, shall we?
Okay. So, Aloces is a duke. His title is the Great Duke, who has 36 legions under his command. He induces people to immortality and teaches art and mysteries of the sky, depicted as riding a horse with dragon legs. He appears in the shape of a knight mounted on an enormous horse. His face has leonine characteristics. He has a ruddy complexion and burning eyes and speaks with much gravity. He teaches astronomy and liberal arts. He's also a fallen angel.
Is that it one?
Yeah, that's all I have on that one.
Right, nice. So it mentions art of the skies and mysteries. You know, it's the first thing I thought straight away, clouds. There's your art in the skies. You know, the constant changing of clouds. And, you know, again, you can see when you're on time-lapse videos, when you time-lapse clouds, they form in exactly the same place all the time, just about. So, you know, it's suggesting to me the technology laws projecting upwards. You'll start getting clouds forming as the air gets energized around halos or rainbows or whatever it's projecting. It's electromagnetic fields energizing it. And of course, it mentions gravity. You know, it's gravitation, the flow, the it's it's manipulating the flow in one direction or another. Basically, very interesting.
I agree entirely. Because how many real clouds have any of us seen for a long time? You know, we constantly see cloud cover in the sky that we know isn't real. I have been boring people for at least 10 years about chemtrails, and now they are so in your face and layered, and it's just like, oh, we don't even realize that the light blue sky we're seeing is not actually our real blue sky because of the wispy cloud that you and I and everyone else is able to capture the halos, rainbows and nodes and things. Is people just are so grateful for the little bit of sun that they don't even see that their sky is grey as opposed to blue anymore, even. You know?
Yeah,
This,
yeah,
yeah.
it's a mess. It's a mess, isn't it? Yeah, you know, it would seem Alice's is out of a job because the chemtrailers. Yeah, you know, to me that one there, he's definitely involved in generating clouds and sky phenomena. Any more input on that, Rose?
Not on this one. Maybe a little later.
Okie dokie. Back to you, one.
Okay. So we are at number 60.
Yeah, last one.
Okay. So Cameo is a great president ruling over 30 legions. This one understands the voice of birds, bullocks, dogs, and other creatures, and of the noise of the waters too, and gives true answers concerning the things to come. He seems to stand on burning ashes or coals. This is one of the first parts of the Lesser Keys of Solomon. He is a good disputer. He has been shown to appear in the form of a black bird called a thrush, but can soon change shape to a man that has a sharp sword in his hand. The title president suggests a parallel with the presiding officer. Cameo's name seems to be taken from the biblical first murderer, Cain. That's what I have on him.
Lovely stuff. Yeah, I like the reference there with birds. You know, what it's looking at there is nature again. It's in harmony with nature. It's referencing birds. So it's obviously, you know, it's playing a part in the heavens. You know, it's not going to affect birds in a bad way. So yeah, you know, it's considering nature, which they have to. Yeah, you see references that in Enoch. I think it was Enoch we read through once, and you could see that like there was concern for, you know, the harm that can come from this knowledge. And to me, you know, it's the knowledge of the technology. It can harm if you don't know what you're doing. On Cain, you know, I think Santos has done a good conversion on what Cain is. You know, Cain and Abel. I would tell people to go and look at some of Santos's work on, you know, these character kind of references, and he will put it into a different perspective of what you think it is.
Yeah, Boogeyman says the third from the left, second from the right appears to discuss the physical gates from which the stars and winds come from. Earth Baby says, I recollect a statement made about the wandering stars being continually reversed in rotation, as declared to the humans to be wise to their flips as a reprimand to their disobedience. So would you like to explain epicycles, FPV?
Yeah, certainly. Epicycles, yeah. Yeah, but the wandering stars, you know, the epicycles, if you look at Ptolemy's work, when he depicted the luminaries moving, he actually had them attached to a separate circle, and he also rotated this circle. Now, this is when the globe appeared after what, maybe 1400 years of Ptolemy's model of the heavens, you know, being standing the test of time. The globe appears and knocks it off its spot, and it seems they weren't happy with all these epicycle motions because it was too much work to factor in, etc., etc. So, you know, the globe was invented. I think that's when it turned up and knocked his model off top spot. But, you know, epicycles, Ptolemy factored them in, and what he was showing you, he's not only showing you how the sun moves, but he's showing you how the sun's halo, which is what we're showing in our halo focus videos and other videos we record. He's showing you how this halo actually works, and it slowly revolves as it goes across the plane. So, you know, this is where the epicycles are coming from. Going back to scripture, you know, the ascension, you're looking at it rising in the east, going across the heavens, and then setting in the west. So, you know, so there's a rise there. As it comes down, it would be switched off, which is, you know, in scriptural terms, or even in glyph terms, it's the, you know, it's a death, it's a shutdown, it's being switched off. Then it makes its way back to the east, and there's your resurrection again. You know, the resurrection is just it starting again the next cycle. Or have I gone off track there? Is that what you were asking for, one?
Yeah, I just wanted people that maybe are not familiar with our work to understand why the luminaries appear to go backwards at times because of these
Right.
epicycles.
The epicycles. Yeah, what they call retrograde as well. You know, they might not actually be shutting down. They could be doing what the sun does in our 24-hour mode. You know, there's a 24-hour mode here. If you watch our seasons video, you'll see where it pushes the sun further north, and this is when we get the 24-hour sun, the Arctic sun. And, you know, retrograde luminaries or wandering stars, if any of them are retrograding, then really consider it's just been pushed up along the same path the sun uses to get back to the east. So, you know, there may be more than one, just the sun using that 24-hour route, in other words.
And ironically, actually, FPV, one of the most common things that happen with retrograde planets is with the Mercury. It's all about technology and communication being interrupted. And it is a given that the moment that Mercury goes into retrograde, all electromagnetic communication goes up the spout. up to and including personal relationships, as well as internet.
I would not be surprised, you know. That would not
And
surprise
we're
me,
enjoying
Rose.
that.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I would not be surprised, you know. Like one's demonstrated before with the alignments and things, the forces, and you know, you're looking at a very powerful projector, say, projecting upwards and punching my electromagnetic no, I'm getting tongue-tied, electromagnetic data skyward. And if there's another one on a layer below, very close and nearby, you know, imagine the forces going on just around those two alone. Yeah.
Completely. And if you actually understand the astrology that we're actually sitting within right now, there are 4 separate planets that are going retrograde right now, which is the whole reason why we're all having this conversation right now, apparently.
Yeah, comment in chat there from Andy123. The creator could be the vortex Fibonacci. In this research, Andy, you know, the Fibonacci spiral and is coming from what we call the star halos or particle accelerators, electromagnets, in other words, you know, ring magnets, electro ring magnets. That's what you're looking at. You know, this technology obviously deploys a lot of those kind of, like CERN, you know, look, CERN's a perfect example of what you're looking at. So that's you know, that's where these projections are coming from, and these are what are creating the spirals, the vortexes. You know, Tesla obviously understood it because he developed vortex maps to help people understand it and obviously harness its powers. You know, there's got to be lots of powers harnessable here that we're not seeing. But yeah, you know, this is where the Fibonacci spiral comes from. It's the perpetual flow around the accelerator. It just keeps spiraling and spiraling. If you watch our Power and Glory video, you know, we go into detail a bit more in that, and you can see how it relates to star trails and you know, luminaries in general. This is where it's coming from. It's the technology that's creating that.
And particularly for me, I'm not quite sure how it fits, but the declassification of Pluto being a luminary, and yet she was only classified as a luminary from 1929 in the first place. Or please correct me if I'm wrong, if it's a different date, but I know it's in the 20s at least. That in itself is interesting because in astrology, it is still considered one of the 4 planets that are still going into retrograde at the same time, at this time today that this is recorded, and that has a physical effect on your being.
That also tells us that it's a complete timed system, like we're saying. If they were doing this 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago or whenever it was recorded, and they're still doing it today, the exact same thing at the exact same time, just like meteor showers being repeatable year after year after year in the same locations, this is a timed system. Our world is a timed system, absolute. There's no questioning it.
While we're on time systems, guys, I'll mention about the end times. You know, if people in the chat, the end times have been mentioned a lot in the Native American prophecies. You know, in the end times, we will see spider webs in the sky. Revelations. What it's telling you guys, what you're looking at here is the grand solar minimum. It seems every 200 years or so, the sun goes into what we call the grand solar minimum. So it's a cooling period. And of course, with a cooling period comes colder temperatures, more ice particles in the sky. Now, the ice particles, if you look at the halo focus videos again, you'll see exactly what the ice particles are revealing. You know, it's just a cycle. You know, end times, don't worry about it. All it is a countdown to the end of a cycle. And I think now this is where the main calendar was counting down to. So around about 2012 in the Gregorian calendar or thereabouts, it was counting down to the next grand solar minimum, basically, you know. And this is what scripture would call revelations, that the construct is revealing itself. You're going to see more and more of the construct in the heavens than we've ever seen before in our lifetime. This is what you're looking at with the sun halo, and we're making a model of that, so you'll see even more and more of it. But you only have to look at the halo focus videos that we've been sharing off other people, and to see what you're really looking at. What you're seeing there is the sun projecting, moving around in our realm, and it's clearly a projection from below. And the ice particles are just highlighting its profile as it goes past. Of course, ice particles have got trapped light particles in them, and these light particles are trying to interact with the projection. Obviously, they can't very well because they're trapped in ice. Now, your chemtrailing, in our opinion, is an attempt to stop the ice forming. So, you're going into global warming, climate change here. So in our research, we're kind of busting global warming and climate change because to us, they're just trying to stop ice crystals forming in the atmosphere or any kind of crystals for that matter, because it helps reveal the sun halo. We are supposed to see this.
Everything FPV just said. Yeah, like seriously, if you look at all the creation stories, if you seriously understand, if you start to investigate everything, it all makes sense. It is a tangled web we weave when first we set out to deceive.
Yeah, and what a tangled web they've woven. We have to unravel all this, guys, and put it back. Our ancestors were clearly taught and knew all this. So, what we're doing is relearning what the ancients knew and depicted. Because, when we come to flat Earth, our question was, okay, if the world's not a spinning ball, what is creating and moving those lights in the sky? You're looking at what could possibly create such a thing. Yeah, well, the only answer can be technologies, and this is what this research is all about. We're revealing how the creators' technologies are responsible for what we're seeing in the skies and most of nature.
Andy123 says something is pressurizing us.
I was just gonna pick that up actually. One, you go ahead.
No, I'll go ahead. It says it could be the spiraling creating the cooling. But again, if you go to the power and glory, but go ahead, FPV, explain the spiraling.
Yeah, the spiraling that's what's creating our pressure system. If you go and watch our Power and Glory video, Andy, and you'll see how Walter Russell's work overlays into our work. Because all man can do really, what we're looking at here is a creation on a grand scale, and I mean huge. It's not human scale; it's grand, it's massive, and all man can do is reverse engineer it and scale it down to for human use in so many ways. But the star halos, if you look at the star halos, to us, they are the projections from various very large sized accelerators. All these stars are just nodes on the accelerator. What you're seeing is a lit up node, exactly what you see in the sun halo. Again, look at the sun halo videos and you'll see exactly what I mean. Now, all our luminaries up there have got the same configuration. We've seen the moon halo, we've seen the sun halo. I'm not sure about the ladies, but myself, I now consider Jupiter's moons to be just more nodes on a halo. So what you're looking at is various projections at various altitudes in the sky. So yes, and now this is what's creating the pressure system, because you've got left-hand rule, right-hand rule ones, continually running. So there's exactly where the pressure is coming from. It can be from above. If it's a left-hand rule projecting upwards, that would now force the pressure downward. Say a left-hand rule forcing downward, it's forcing the flow downward. Whereas if it was right-hand rule, it would force it upward. Because this is how you're going to look at, this technology's putting pressure waves out into the atmosphere through the ether, and it has to react to it. This is exactly how it works. Hope that helps.
What were you going to say, Rose? I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to.
Oh no, sweetie. The people have to understand that this is completely live. We all know why we're here, but we haven't had this is our conversation about things.
Yeah, this is how we start private.
Yeah, exactly. So like I am Rosie. I'm a liberty to a bit. I just talk sometimes, but sometimes it's you know, for a reason. In this instance, I'm not quite there yet.
Well, this is a learning process for everyone to understand what all this stuff means, because we have been taught complete bullcrap. So going back to this sigil, though, the diamond in the center of those two spirals is a bridge rectifier when you're talking about electrical terminology. Just saying, I want to throw that out there because anybody that does understand electronics, and electricity is going to see how these sigils, when you look up electrical schematics, you will see each piece depicted in these.
Yeah. Well, Rose meant there, guys, you know, when she said she's not quite there yet, what she's saying, you know, she's not up to date on being able to explain it like me and Mon can, because we've looked at so many things, you know, we can cross-reference previous work and such like that. But I mean, Rose will pick that up as well. You know, all she's doing is picking up on what we've learned ourselves and shared between each other. And, you know, now Rose is involved in sharing it and bouncing all the knowledge off each other. So it's, you know, it's got a knock-on effect. Rose, so that's what Rose meant. You know, she's catching up on being able to describe it and give it the terminology it needs. I mean, you know, I'm the first to admit I'm not the best at describing and giving this the terminology it needs, but we still have to consider we've got to put it across in layman's terms so anyone can understand it, because it seems this was how it was put across in the first place, so anyone can understand what it's telling you.
Exactly that, FPV, because I can go to a museum or whatever and collate information for our research library and live decode in real time this complete discernment out of entire museums what is worth collecting and what is not. Yet at the same time, saying out loud what I see and why I know that information is important is not quite there yet. I only found APM a year ago. You know, and before then, I just knew the Earth was flat and nothing explained it, but I knew it was, and that was that. And then in this year, I have got here, and now I'm here with you and one, and live decoding stuff. And still, sometimes I don't know what to say, even though I see it.
Yeah, it's understandable, isn't it? You know, you're finding the words to describe it and tell its story. You know, it is a long process, but you know, hopefully over time, people's going to see it's just more of the same. And it depends how deep you want to get into decoding things. You know, like we're doing today with the sigils, we're going deeper and deeper into what you're seeing there. But you know, Rose is right. You know, would you recommend a visit to the museum, Rose, knowing what you know now?
When I discovered Flat Earth, it took all my joy of being the geek that I already was, going to all these things and sucking up everything that I was being told. And then when I realized that it was even worse than I ever thought it was, all of these institutions became a negative place, where now I just see these things as being mislabeled as opposed to lies. And because any lie has to have 80% truth to be believable. That's what a long con is. That's psychology. So if we use their own data and weapons against them, that if any institution, any mainstream information has an abundance of information, to my mind now, because now it's like instead of just being in awe of everything because it's old, it's now going, well, that's real and that's not, and that's just someone having loving their partner, and this is actually about a lost process or a kept thing, or a replication of something. They're not quite sure why they need to replicate it, but they're going to do it anyway. And all of that is important because I can see it through the ages, even more so. Like node 1, 2, and 8, boom.
Yeah, that's how we've come at it, really, isn't it? We've like thought, well, they've lied about the shape of the world. They're going to lie about everything, and they really have. History, geography, science, technologies, you name it. It's all been lies and hidden. Everything's been hidden. Because that's what you realize at the end of the day. When you start to hide the construct, you are instantly at war with humanity to keep it hidden. And that's where we're finding ourselves today. They're at war with humanity, filling us with lies and indoctrination that just don't stand up to scrutiny.
Okay, so can you move it to 61?
I sure can. Hold on.
Okay, so 61 is Murmur. Murmur is known as a duke and a count and an earl. He rules over 30 legions. 2 of his ministers go before him, making the sounds of trumpets. Murmur in Latin means noise, whisper, murmur, and the sound of the trumpet. He teaches philosophy and can oblige the souls of the deceased to appear before one and to answer any desired question. Murmur is depicted as a soldier riding a vulture or a griffin wearing a ducal crown. That's what I have on Murmur.
Yeah, for me, when I was just getting the sky relation there when it added the wings, it's obviously involved in some kind of a mechanism in the heavens. Interesting on the design, though. When you look at the moon, looks like phases of the moon there, doesn't it? Or possibly even an eclipse.
It also reminded me of how the moon is seen in reverse from the north to the south.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? So the equator would be at the center point of that. Yeah. Because that's what you're looking at with the moon, guys. There is no dark side to the moon. It's you've seen one image. It's just got one image that's obviously taken locally from where the projector's getting the image from, or it's generated. Whatever it is, it's generated in situ, and that image comes from where it's being generated from. So north of it and south of it, you're going to get a flipped and mirrored view. Now this, it's rotating around and all that. No, it's flip. What you would call it, proper term for it is flipped and mirrored, because the image behaves like a water droplet. You see a water droplet, it'll flip on the other side of it. So it's behaving like a water droplet in nature, the image, and that's the only image it's got. There is no other image. There's no dark side. What you see is what you get. So that's what you're looking at with the moon.
And also in part 1, ducal crown was mentioned specifically with one other sigil as well. Not that I can remember what that was. I'm looking through my notes to try and tie it up, but it's just a point of note out loud.
That's good info. It's only been mentioned twice then, the ducal crown.
Exactly that.
Anything else on Murmur? I like the trumpet sounds also, because we hear those in our sky. We hear those. People hear those all over the world, those weird sounds that they don't have a clue where they're coming from, which we talked about that before in a video.
Do you know what they remind me of now? Very large doors opening down below.
Yeah, it's definitely something going on with the below. It reminded me of different sounds. I went and listened to all kinds of different sounds, and it could be anywhere from, things moving, opening, things starting up, running, because again have to imagine the scale we're talking about here, but sounds from below would reverberate out into the sky.
Yeah.
And if
look
you
at the
actually look at the symmetry of the sigil, you've got the magnet underneath, and then above, you've got a smaller magnet that is opening up into something else. You know, and both of them are crescents as well at the end, horizontally.
It also looks like a chandelier there, doesn't it? Well, sorry, candelabra. A candelabra.
Is that not the menorah?
Probably is, yeah.
We did a private one of that already.
I know, we need to record those. We talk about that much, we just forget to record it. That's it from me anyway on Murmur.
Okay, so we'll move on to 62, which is Aurobus. Aurobus is also a fallen angel. Like I said, there's 27 of the ones we're talking about today are also related to the fallen angels. Aurobus is a prince. He has 20 legions under his control. He gives true answers of things past, present, and to come. He focuses on divinity and the creation of the world. He also confers dignities and prelacies. Aurobus is faithful and does not permit anything to tempt him. He is depicted as a horse that changes into a man. The name could come from Latin, aurorabeus, which is a type of incense. That's what I have on Aurorabus.
Lovely information. I like the reference there with creation straight away. You know, you're looking at volcanoes again, aren't you? Volcanoes, quakes, and you can see them sitting on the top there. I think they probably represent volcanoes.
Two little triangles, pop, pop, pop.
And the little spiral there, you know, spiral energies, spiral upwards. What was the other part I was looking at? It runs well, you know, it's faithful, it runs well, it's obviously no problem, and it likes to reference there, you know, it cannot be, you know, nothing else will interfere with it. In other words, you know, other frequencies and such don't affect it, so it's not going to suffer from any external frequency or crossover of harmonics there. So yeah, you know, it's telling you there it's a very good, capable machine, and it runs well basically.
To my mind, it's a time process that happens all the time, but not all the time.
Yeah, I would say that there's probably 3 major volcanoes involved, just looking at the picture. Definitely on a time system, but you have to think okay, so earthquakes and volcanoes are very closely related, because when a volcano pops off, it gives off usually the size of about a 5 or 6 magnitude earthquake. And when the earthquakes come along, if they don't come out as an earthquake or shaking, the volcanoes erupt around it. Does that make sense? It's always happening. And when you study volcanoes, you'll realize that some of them are always erupting. They're always flowing out and always creating, where others, the pressure has to build to kind of explode. But they do it on a regular basis. That's why they say they can predict, oh, this one's probably going to erupt, you know, around this time, which they don't give us all the details in science, but I'm pretty sure they know. They know based on the system.
What I like about that one as well, one is you look where the 2 spirals are, you know, imagine the equator as the center, and you've got a spiral above and below, you know, so it's telling you that it's pulling energies from in the atmosphere and possibly from below, or it's grounded below, and, you know, there's the ground, and there's where it's pulling the electrical energies from in the top spiral. And it also, when you look at it, it's narrowing them down into that square box where, it's compression, isn't it? You're looking at compression again. It's a compressor.
Yeah, and as
It's
the three,
compressing ether into that box there, basically.
yeah, and where the three lines do go into the box there, that is showing us that that's a multiple conductor cables or tubes. There's multiple lines going into it, and I like the way there's three of those and three volcanoes on top.
Yeah, very nice.
I concur. It is definitely, yeah, it's that square thing again as well, isn't it? When you, what did you say the other day about the square equations and stuff? One,
The square is always a time system.
yeah.
It means a timing. It's a timer.
So would yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. It can obviously be
Sorry, it's just instead of me giving something, I mean, it's learning something.
certainly is. Yeah. Back to you on where we on here, 62. Yeah. Want to jump to 63?
Sure. So 63 is Grimoire. Slide my words over so I can look at it. Oh, look at that one. Okay, so
Jumps out that one, doesn't it?
yes. So before I even read the description, this one reminds me of that piece, that volcano system that I swear is one great big massive volcano, but I don't know that for sure, over by Japan, in between Japan and Indonesia. But anyway, let me read it. So Grimoire is a very strong duke that governs 26 legions. He tells things of the past, present, and future, and about hidden treasures, and procures love. He is depicted as appearing in the form of a beautiful woman with a crown of a duchess tied around her waist and riding a camel. That's pretty interesting. That's the information I have on Grimoire. So it's a female energy, which means it's more of a negative versus the positive. Also, the other thing that stuck out to me in this picture is the things that look like volcanoes on top. Let me find it. It's a voltage network when you're talking about electrical terminology.
Very cool. Yeah, and following on from that,
Yeah.
I like this. I think we can actually decode the past, present, and future now. Going by, listening to some of these, I think I can put that together now into a better way of describing that. What it's telling you, past, present, and future. It's just a daily process. In other words, it's the same yesterday as it is today, as it will be tomorrow. It's just a constantly running process. These are like the fiery ones. They seem to be running all the time. It tells me it's just something that's running 24/7 when it mentions past, present, and future now. Yesterday, today, tomorrow. There's your past, present, and future. It's going to be doing the same as it was yesterday as it will tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that's really good. What do you think, Ron?
I was actually going to comment on someone in the chat, Sir Brendan. The moon is a perfect circle, which means it was not naturally created. So I disagree. The moon is absolutely one of the natural luminaries. I've watched all kinds of stuff also from like David Icke and such. But these luminaries have been here for all time. There's no one that's going to convince me that this is not the moon is not a part of the same wandering stars, luminaries from the creation. That's just my opinion. I just wanted to
Yeah, well,
address that.
I would agree with that,
I
because if you look
completely
at
that one.
if you look at our Halo Focus videos again, guys, you can see the moon's got the halo the same as the sun. You know, it's the same technology, just obviously doing different processes and roles. You know, the sun's perhaps called a male because it's a positive kind of force, and the moon could be the female negative force, and that's why you're getting two different kind of light forms out of it. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if Sir Brendan in the chat there is familiar with our research, but it would benefit him to have a look through it and consider looking at what they call the creator's glory being technological processes in the underworld that are very real. You know, that's what we're looking at here now. All these processes have to be considered as being very real in the underworld.
Yeah. And also in our next video, which I won't really get into it right now too much, but we're going to kind of explain how things can appear solid like that. So stay tuned for the next big video we put out.
Yeah. 64 then, yeah.
Yeah, 64 is Osei. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's OSE. Osei is a president ruling only 3 legions. He is known for liberal sciences and gives true answers concerning divine and secret things. He also can bring insanity to any person. He can make them believe that they are a creature. He can also make that person think they are a king or a pope. Hosea is depicted as a leopard that after a while changes to a man. His name seems to derive from Latin os, meaning mouth or language, or asur, that who abhors. That's what I have on that one.
Very interesting there. You know, the name Ose and the reference there to it can make people think they're a pope and such like that. You know, you look at the entitlement that people's got nowadays. You can see exactly where it's coming from. You know, it can make people imagine they're a pope. I think Ose has probably affected a lot of people in this world. You know, this entitlement they've given themselves. But anyway, jumping back to the lith itself, the sigil. When you look at that, yeah, there's a nice, lovely, what you would call a schematic diagram, isn't it? You know, you get the coils at the sides, magnets in there. Yeah, nice little process going on. I'm not sure what the thing below represents, but it could be, you know, the force could be getting pushed downward, which could suggest a left-hand rule or direction of flow.
Anything else on Osei?
That's it from me. You got anything, Rose?
No, that's good. It's truly symmetrical again, isn't it? So, and it was a president, so I think it's a actual place as opposed to a process. Because it created something as well, didn't it? What
Yeah,
did
I
I
mean,
miss?
look at the word president as well. It's suggesting it's like in charge of or responsible for, another amount of it, doesn't it? On to the next, yeah.
Yeah. So next is Amy. We're at 65. Amy is pretty interesting. Amy is a president, appearing initially as a flame. He rules over 36 legions. He is both of the Order of Angels and Potestates, which means powers. Amy is the 58th spirit. Amy is a flame of fire. He makes one marvelous in astrology and in all liberal sciences. See, he also hoped after 1,200 years to return to the seventh throne. And that's what I have on Amy.
I like the word in the the Order of Angels. It's putting it in a category of like the, when it mentions the flame, it's put in a category like the seraphim, like we found in the Decoding Scriptures 2 video we did. The fiery ones as they labeled them in Scripture. Yeah, very nice.
It even looks like fire on the top.
Yeah. Yeah, a bit of a coil going on there and some other stuff. Yeah, I like Jimbo's input on that. You could see it more for the schematic what his own knowledge base tells him. What you need here is people that know schematics, and they like Jimbo. They look at it and say, yeah, now I see what you are.
I also see an elephant. So Grenache, maybe, which I know is a node.
Yeah, I can see the elephant now you mention it.
Yeah. I am Earth Baby said, how I wish your research would delve into the Pistis Sophia. Is that text that we were going to do, FPV, with the...
I'm not sure one. We've looked at that
I
many
think it
now,
is. Hold on,
yeah,
let me look in my...
we'll look into it after this video, and if we what we do is we'll look in if we can see the technological aspects jumping out
Yes.
at us. We know we're on the right track, and yeah, that's worth another decode if that's what we decide.
The Pistis Sophia was the books we were going to look into that is also relating to the different chambers of the underworld. If you remember, it has different
Jason's put their link in the chat there anyway, so don't worry about it too much.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, we actually have an absolute plan to go into that, just so you know. I am Earth Baby. So sorry. Anything else on...
Yeah, that's
Amy?
it for me on Amy. That's it for me, one.
Yeah, apart from the Grenache thing, that's cool.
Awesome. Okay, so number 66 is Orius, which in a way reminds me of Orion, because sometimes words get changed over time, and that's a lot of where our confusion comes in. But let's see. Where do I have? Oh, well. Somehow I missed Orius.
Don't worry about that. If you want to look for it, I can put some input there.
Yeah, let's just look at the picture here.
Yeah, the first thing I looked at, it reminded me of a very large antenna. You look at the design of it, it looks like a big antenna standing there, doesn't it?
It does, and it's got switching all around, which I'm starting to wonder if these switching pieces aren't possibly, just putting it out there, connecting to a different piece. It's switching from this piece to the next piece.
Yeah, or awaiting input from something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I would look at it. You know, back to them archers again that you see in depictions. You know, the archer to me would just be a message being relayed in that direction that the arrow was facing. So, you know, it's communicating with someone else in the chain, isn't it?
Maddie Devine
Which is
said similar in shape to Russell's power generator.
Yeah, you can also you know reference that with what we've seen on the mimic map on you know these signals going back into on the mimic map, them very large signals. That's you know that to us is events and signaling and processes going on, and that's what the mimic map's been recording. You know we've talked about that before, so it's probably worth mentioning again. You know we are seeing these signals on recorded data.
So the only information I do have on Arias is it's a fallen angel, and this is the one that grabbed me, which is why I asked about constellation. It is depicted as a lion with a serpent tail.
Very nice. You got anything to add to the lion there, Rose? Yeah, we'll do. Yeah, you remember the Nazca Lines one, the antennas? That's
Oh,
what you
yeah.
know. As soon as the image, as soon as I looked at it, I thought, "Wow, big antenna." Because you know the Nazca Lines guys, if you look at some of our older research, you'll see when I was doing the Nazca Lines and line tracing them, I come across an antenna, and it was about 5 mile long in length on the ground. You know, mainstream will have you believe men with sticks carved these into rock and even scalped the tops of mountains off to put them there. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, definitely an antenna. This one. Can I share for a moment?
Yeah, of course you can.
Just to show
I'll just stop.
the exact Nazca line, because I actually have the exact Nazca line. Don't let me share yet because I don't want to share the link, but I want to put the picture up first.
Yeah, no worries.
So don't present me just yet.
Yeah, we're on standby. Don't worry.
Okay, now you can present me this one.
Right.
This is the one that
You
popped out in my
presented.
mind. Okay, this is your Nazca line, and it looks very, very similar to that.
Yeah. But you know, look for our videos, guys, and you'll see the references there. What we mean with glyphs and sigils, and you know, it's just more decodings, more different cultures, depictions of the technological process on a grand scale. I mean, the Nazca lines are truly amazing. I still haven't finished them. You know, when I realised what they were and how it fitted into a world model, it was more important then to get that message out than continue, you know, adding more lines. But yeah, good example one. Very nice. You want me to stop presenting you, yeah?
Yeah, so I can shut it down. Yeah, stop presenting me, and I can stop screen sharing.
Right, you stop. That's it. Yeah.
All right. So now I can.
Okay, so I found a couple of things.
There you go. Sigils back up here, Rose.
Thank you. So going back to Andromeda. Andromeda is the right now. So going back to Sigil Part 1, I explained that we currently use 12 zodiacal signs and constellations to represent when we are born. The ancients used 24, which is basically the next layer out of the constellations that you see. Sorry. So Andromeda, going back a little bit, but I think it's very important because when you actually look at Andromeda as a constellation, it actually looks like a stick figure person. And it rules April, 2nd to 9, and April 19th to May 8th in the Northern Hemisphere. Andromeda, the princess chained in space, waiting for her hero, Perseus, to rescue her from the sea monster, is an autumn and winter constellation lying due south of her mother, Cassiopeia. In the Northern Hemisphere, to find her, first locate the bright W-shaped constellation of Cassiopeia near the pole, which is one of the easiest to recognize. One of Andromeda's stars also forms the corner of the Great Square of Pegasus, the winged horse. Beneath them, nearer the horizon to the south, in the area of the skies known as the sea in ancient Babylon, swim Pisces, the fishes of the zodiac, and Cetus, the sea monster ready to devour her. In the center of the constellation lies the famous Andromeda galaxy, more than, please forgive me, 2 million light years away. It is the most distant object in the universe which we can see with the naked eye, glimmering through the veil of our own galaxy, the Milky Way.
Fantastic intro, Rose. Yeah, you made me think of something else there about the constellation references and stories. You know, what you're looking at with the constellations, guys. You know, the heavens are basically a map of how it works. When you think about that, you know, you've got these constellations with various creatures in. You know, this is not by, you know, this is by design. This is no coincidence why they're even there. You know, it's the sky is basically like a map. The luminaries, they're mapping out how it works for you and telling you a story. You can't hide this.
Okay.
Not at
So,
all, and I have just 2 more, if you don't mind. One, if you don't mind.
go ahead.
I just have Orion and the crown of the north wind. So Orion, which is June 1st to the 7th, and June 17th to the 27th, so mostly Gemini. Orion, the great huntsman, is the brightest constellation in the heavens and can be easily recognized. He rises in the southeast in October and sets in the southwest in March, and can be seen also in the southern hemisphere, but inverted, on clear winter evenings as he moves slowly through the sky, wearing his glittering belt through which the celestial equator passes, and with the dog stars, which we know is Sirius, at his heel. It is not hard to see why he was believed to be the most handsome man in the world has ever known. Also could be considered Lucifer, isn't it? Nor, as the new moon rises, why he was the only love of Artemis, the virgin goddess of hunting and the crescent moon. Rigel, the mariner's star, which marks the Orion's left leg, is a blue-white supergiant. Please forgive me. 57,000 times brighter than our sun. Betelgeuse, which also marks Orion's right shoulder, is a reddish topaz supergiant, so large that he can contain the orbit of the Earth around. Again, please forgive me. I can't even finish that sentence. But what intrigued me about the things we're talking about right now and the constellations is the crown of the north wind, which is Corona Borealis, which is October 27th to November 11th, which is basically Scorpio, my dears. Corona Borealis, northern crown, or the crown of the north wind, lies upside down behind the back of the great hero. Hercules, the main star of this small but brilliant constellation, is Alphecca, and that's Alphecca, the central jewel in the crown of red. Indian jewels in fiery gold, which belong to the Cretan princess Arachne, You know, the spider thingy. Behind it, yeah, no, seriously, behind its stars, to which the fortunate keep tuned. I'm almost there. To which the fortunate were thought to go after death. The 400 galaxies invisible to the naked eye, 1,000,000,000 light years distance. Please forgive me. It is best seen in summer, lying between the Harp star Vega in the Lyra, a constellation to the east of it, and Arcturus in Bootes, the Bear Keeper, to the west. The chronioids, the meteors of the crown, stream towards us from the direction from mid-April to the end of June. And when you actually see the constellation, it literally looks like a crown that you would put on your head.
Fantastic information, Rose. I love your input like that. You know, you're teaching us things, you're relating it and correlating it and cross-referencing it. Fantastic. It really is to listen to. You know, lots of information there, guys. You know, just about one sigil and the North Gates, and you know, thinking about that now when you look at the antenna, it's probably obviously involved in activating something to do with the North Gates and the winds. Very interesting.
Yes, thank you. And reading those descriptions of the constellations and relating it to all the stuff that we said here, you could probably eventually almost place these pieces and where they're at. I mean, they're
Yeah,
probably,
that was
you know,
that was the plan originally, wasn't it? You know, we were going to overlay the ones that one knows where they are on the map, but there's that many, and they're going to overlap. It would kind of get messy. But we did, you know, we were going to do that. We did do a test run of making sigils, you know, like rotating on the map. we may do it another day. You know,
yeah,
who
it
knows?
would be an ongoing project for sure, but you'd have to look at a lot of information to get the specific locations.
I'll be back in a few minutes, guys. I'll be back in a few minutes.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so yeah, one.
Do you have any more on constellations you can read while he's gone?
Well, I have quite a few different ones here.
Because when you read that one and we thought back
around-
to you made me think back to the ones that, you know, describe them riding a bear. And I'm sure that
yes,
there's others where they're riding a dragon, and there's others that they're riding, you know, a bull.
I'm just going to randomly pick up because the way I have this information is it is cards, but that's only because they're like flashcards as opposed to tarot or anything else, and it is also attached to a constellation map, and then a booklet of the person's knowledge and understanding of this is how astrology was before it changed. And we have to understand that astrology has changed several times over the last several hundred years for various reasons. And part of that is because they needed to make astrology work in order for this spinning sphere globe model to work, because previously as a stationary flat plane, astrology had always worked rather perfectly. So that's one of the reasons why I dived deeper to other things. So I'm just going to the ship of the Argonauts, yes. So this constellation is the ship of the Argonauts, and we have all seen the movie, I am sure. And this constellation rules July 8th to 17th, which I think is very relevant as we're on the 16th of July, and September 22nd to 28th. So that would mean that would be when it is visible in the southern hemisphere, but not in the north. So this huge constellation of Argo Navis, the ship of the Argonauts, has now been divided into three: Carina, Vela, and Puppis, and it dominates the skies of the southern hemisphere from January until May. Carina is the keel, and its brightest star is Cantopus, which was worshipped in the desert as the source of the colour in jewels, and can best be seen in the northern hemisphere in early February from the latitude of Florida. 1,200 times brighter than our Sun, it lies due south of the dog star Sirius in Canis Major. Canopus is called after the Greek captain of the fleet which conquered Troy, and it is still the spacecraft used in spacecraft navigation. Please forgive me. The star the star Markeb is part of Vela, now a separate constellation which forms the sails of the ship.
That's
I'm
awesome.
back. I'm back.
Welcome back.
Ah. I missed
I was just
I missed the description.
She was talking about spaceships. No, I'm just kidding.
it was my
Ah,
I trouted her. No, she was reading some more about the constellations. It was very good stuff. But yeah,
yeah.
we were just filling some time.
very good and very relevant, wasn't it?
It was relevant, yes. Yes, it was very, very cool. And there you'll just have to go back and listen to that part afterwards.
Yeah.
FPV.
I promise.
Okay, so can we move on to 67?
Yeah, good to go.
All right, so this one is Vapula. Vapula is a duke, a great duke, that is over 36 legions. He is known for philosophy, mechanics, and sciences. Vapula is depicted as a griffin-winged lion. And that's all I have on that one. But looking at the sigil itself, I see coils and those waves again, which are inductors. Those are different types of inductors coming from both sides.
Yeah, I would agree there. And the heart, it reminds me of a heartbeat. Like in electrical terms, your heartbeat would be there. Like Roy's depicted with his experiments with magnets. He has a little bulb flickering away, so he knows there's a signal there. That's what he calls the heartbeat. So yeah, very cool. Or it could also represent giving life, the heart. Interesting also the way it words it, because you're looking at machine projector wings there with the winged creature. So it can project. It's telling you there. It's a projection style technology. What it's projecting, I'm not sure.
Right. Anything else before we move on?
No, that's it from me.
No, all cool.
Okay, so Zagan. Zagan is a king. And I had a thought, and I'd have to go back and probably watch both videos again to see for sure, or just refer to my notes and go back over all the sigils myself or whatever. But I don't know if all the kings happen to be these square waves. I'm not sure, but it was a thought that entered my mind that we might need to go back and check on. But Zagan is a great king, and he's also a president. Or maybe these time systems might have two titles. I'm not sure. There's got to be a trend or something. But again, anyway. So King President Zagan is over 33 legions. He makes men witty and can also turn wine to water and water to wine and blood to wine. He can turn blood into oil and oil into blood. Other of his powers are turning metals into coins that are made with that metal. Example, gold into gold coin, copper to copper coin. Zagan is depicted as a griffin winged bull that turns into a man. That's what I have on Zagan.
Lovely, yeah, very nice. I was, same as you on, the square waves, right, being right there again. Yeah, interesting. The kings come with the square waves. Obviously, looking at again at wave manipulation, the square wave. You can see there's a step down there in the wave, like midway through. It's like steps down, then picks back up again. Also interesting, it references oils. Oil. Oil exists. It's telling you there. It can be related to oils or metals. Yeah, you're looking at ore again or minerals in the ground, aren't you? More revealing information on the technologies that help create our realm. Because we're looking at creators, maintainers, and destroyer type technologies.
Yes.
This is a process as opposed to a thing.
Yep,
Yeah,
it's a
it's got to be
process.
a process. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very timed. Very timed. It's definitely to do with magnetics, and the square waves are showing us the flow of the electromagnetics. There's a couple of switches that go on, and this is a timer. That's what it's showing us.
And the line suggests a projection again. And even when you look at it, it just looks just like a circuit, a regular circuit.
It reminded me of the under the water below Australia, that piece that I outlined. Remember that?
Yeah, in between Tasmania and Australia, the triangle.
No.
Or do you mean the seabed lines?
Yes, the seabed lines.
That's it.
This one reminded me of that particular one that we also used to show that it looked like what was in the clouds. And it also looked like CERN.
Yep. Because chemtrails aren't just grids in the sky. They are creating smart clouds that you can genuinely see look for each other in the sky. That replicates a different process because that's the artificial, where regular clouds, they just
Hello everyone, this is Conspiracy 2.
Yeah, what it suggests to me is, this particular one is manipulating things below ground when it talks about metals and oils and ore and things like that. So it's it's more affecting things at a lower level than an upper level.
Where's my hat gone? Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
Okay. Can we move to 69? We're almost through these.
Yeah.
Holy cow, that one's freaking awesome looking. But anyway, so this one is Valak. Valak is a president. Valak is an angelically winged boy riding a two-headed dragon, attributed with the powers of finding treasures. He has 30 legions under him. Valak gives true answers about the hidden treasures. He reveals where serpents can be seen and delivers them harmlessly. That's what I have on Valak.
I would say that one seems to be involved in a role in like balancing things out. It mentioned serpents, which we can relate to the the waves, the waves coming, the various waves from the accelerators, and the balancing out there. And harmlessly. So, it can maybe counteract harmful things that's coming out of certain streams of energy, say. Or maybe, it's maybe just a reverse flow to help slow it down and not generate really serious winds. That's what I was thinking when you read that out.
Definitely some sort of junction box, isn't it?
It reminds me of the center of the grid in a way, and how it spreads out into the other parts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, put the equator across the center.
Yeah, and the circle would be the center, and they spread out into other pieces of the grid. That's the first thing I thought I saw when I looked at it.
And it's true. It's a true representation of itself. It doesn't lie, it just is. And it's a precedent. So if I decode it correctly that a precedent means a physical place, a function, a mechanical object as opposed to a process, then yeah, because yeah. And also it is controls 30 legions. So again, it could be if just suspend a legion is a constellation, for instance.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, didn't follow that.
Because all of these are processes. When they are physical, they're still a process because they're still a function. But sometimes they represent a physical thing as a mechanism, and sometimes the process is because it's explaining what it's creating if this mechanical process kicks in. And
Yep. Yeah, another piece of the larger machine. What part? Yeah, it's hard to say, isn't it? At some points. Yeah, I mean, I looked into a lot of the Enochian stuff probably about 2 years ago, and I'll tell you the story at the end of this, depending on how long this goes on for. But yeah, we'll stay on target for now. I was going to sidetrack there, but I'll leave that till later.
You stop sidetracking.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move on. And the next one is number 70, Andras. Andras is a marquis. He has 30 legions under his command. He shows discord, appearing as a winged angel body with the head of an owl or a raven, riding on a strong black wolf and wielding a sharp and bright sword. This one is considered to be highly dangerous if precautions are not taken.
That it one, yeah?
Hold on. Yeah, that was it. Sorry. I have different pages.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, very interesting. The wings again, and also can be dangerous. So you're looking at high projections. It can project. It's because obviously putting out high frequencies or RF. It's something to be very well aware of. Yeah, that's the first thing you get from that, isn't it?
Okay, I'm going to be
look,
controversial in a sec.
Yeah, go on. You go ahead, Rose.
What if it's describing the exhaust of the exhaust node on the halo?
A cleaning cycle.
Yes,
I think if it was involved on one of the nodes, it would have a more prominent role, or be talked about more, or a better description, maybe.
maybe. But when you look at it, it does
Yeah,
have.
well, I think it's going to be, it will be the same technology, but it's obviously doing something different to the others, and it seems to be dangerous with this one.
Yeah. That's why I thought it
But
was
they
because
don't need,
dangerous, like expel, take
yeah.
rid of.
Well, as an expelling, the expelling, I think that they kind of referring to would be the high frequency, or RF, or up in the gigahertz frequencies, which you're looking at 5G, that kind of frequencies is probably what it's talking about. Especially when it adds the wings to them, so you're looking at high frequencies there.
And the owl and the raven reference too.
Yeah, yeah. There's things to be aware of with these high frequencies. It just jumps out at you, that doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also looks like a banner. That would have been held or could have been held. With the staff in the center and the flowing fabric either side of your
It
colours.
does, doesn't it? It does, doesn't it? It makes you wonder where some of these designs came from. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, a banner that would be carried into, say, a battle, or announcing the arrival of someone. Yeah, yeah, good reference that. Over to you, one.
Okay. So number 71 is Horace Howers. I actually have no information on this one, but the first thing that it made me think of when I read its name was Howers, hours. And to me, the switching in this one reminds me of how the sun would cross across our realm and give us our different hours of the day. But that's just the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah, timekeeper. Yeah,
Yeah.
time mechanism or timekeeping. Yeah, like circuitry, kind of look around it again with the coils at the sides, the magnet in the center, and the spiraling waves from the ether obviously being attracted to it. I think that's what's representing there.
Yeah, and I think the
Very
other
cool.
reason it reminded me of that is because it really does almost looks like, when you look at the Nazca lines in an overall sense, the entirety of them. It has the two angel wings coming up. It has the great big magnet in the middle, kind of like the head almost appears when you're looking at the entirety of the Nazca lines, which
Yeah,
is the whole realm.
yeah. I was going to say, for people that aren't sure what one's talking about there, if you look at one of our older videos where they got the Nazca lines, and I'm showing you all the line tracing they've done, you can see the shape of like an angel forming out of these lines, a giant angel shaped, body. And the CERN ceremony actually had dancers take up that shape. If you look in, I forget which video it was now, the 12 gates was it, where I put a decode on the CERN ceremony. You'll see certain like a group of dancers take up the shape and moving around. Very cool. Anything to add to that, Rose?
Mute is a pain in the bum. No, I have nothing to add. It is everything you said. It's intriguing, isn't it, the way it looks? Definitely. It just reminds me of something, but I don't know what.
It reminds me of the other one that had the heart there instead of the cross. It's, you know, quite similar looking. One's got a heart there and one's got a cross. You know, it's very similar design around them. But that's just me. Back to you, Will.
Okay. The last one is Andrialphus. Sorry, some of these names. Andrialphus is a great marquise with the appearance of a peacock who raises great noises and teaches astronomy. When in human form, it teaches geometry in a perfect manner. He rules over 30 legions and has the ability to turn man into bird. He is pertaining to menstruation, among other things, which is a time system as well.
So we have it on a timer, and it's able to switch frequencies, it seems, from a man to a bird. You know, the man would fall into a medium frequency and the bird into a high frequency. And what was the other part? I scribbled something down somewhere then. No, I can't even see it. Oh, the man and the bird, yeah, that was the reference, you know. Switching from man to bird, that's telling me it can, you know, it's just capable of switching frequencies. It's involved in switching frequencies in somewhere.
Yeah. Also, when it mentioned the menstruation, that's kind of weird. I mean, just because they do relate things, everybody wants to relate this to people, but a woman's cycle is very on point. It's very timed, and a lot of women time their cycles with the moon phases. It will happen at the exact same time every month. It will always happen.
I want to reiterate something as well. I've been peacocks in culture, especially because of halos and stuff. Originally, I thought it may have been a representation of that, but maybe understanding that the moon also and other luminaries, their moons may be nodes as opposed to moons, etc. What if the peacock was the visual representation of the moon's individual halo, and that could be expressed as the menstrual cycle? I haven't gone too far into peacocks because I haven't finished with my spiders yet, but it is something that I have a pin in, and this is the first time that I've had peacocks and possible moon being associated with the same thing.
Very cool. Another rabbit hole. Just what you needed, Rose. More rabbit holes.
David said, what if you placed all the A's north? For instance, 69, one click anti-clockwise and then 71 and overlaid the symbols. I see a code. He said he's thinking out loud. I've thought about placing these too. I mean, I don't know if you were here for that part. But we'd have to read like everything in the world to figure out exactly where they go. I think they're all connected. That's just my opinion on it. I really do.
Yeah, they're all going to fit into the grid there somewhere. You know, these are just some of the 144,000 that's mentioned in scripture. You know, it's obviously a very extensive set from whichever culture you look at. You know, every culture we're looking at, it's the same with what we're looking at here. Really, you know, their way of depicting how it works.
And we wouldn't like just put the A's in the north because a lot of these tell us exactly where they go. Some are in the north, some are in the east, some are in the south, and some are the west. In the descriptions, they tell us where they are as far as direction, but it'd be up
And
to us to.
the one, it's not just where they are, it's also within the seasons where they are. Sometimes
Okay.
because
Yeah.
they're always there, and sometimes it's because they happen to be there because of a timed event.
Yeah, they would click on during different seasons. Absolutely.
Yeah, timed events, and the ones in the north, with northern summer, so some of the ones in the south won't be as active. That's what it's going to tell you on the world model. Things shut down in the south until they're required to start up again. Some continually run. Obviously, some are just waiting for timed events and their turn to appear and do what they do again.
Yep. So that was the
So
72 sigils.
So that concludes the 72 guys, but I've got some more stuff here for you to look at.
I'm
We can
not.
decode it if you want, or if you don't know, if you want to stop for a break or anything, just say. Or if you want to go and get a brew, and I'll put some more things up on screen because, like I mentioned before, what we're looking at here is a very extensive set, and we've only decoded 72 of what seems to be a very extensive set. Now, what I was going to mention before about some work I'd done in my very first video, it was relating to the Enochian keys and the black cross and things like that. If you look into the first video I put out, you'll see some nice references in there. And again, it's now overlapping with this. So it wasn't, you're not just looking at sigils. There's lots of more information. And when I looked into it a few years ago, I traced it all back to a university in Greece, and then the trail went dead. You can't get any more information on Enochian information. So, that to me tells me there's a lot of merit to it, but it to be kept hidden inside some university. So, just for I'd mention that, that's where I was going before. So what do you want to do with these ones, guys? Just look at them or browse, just let them scroll by.
I have
There's a few.
I'd like to interject two FPV actually at some point.
Say again, Rose, I missed that,
I
sorry.
have two visuals I would like to interject to at some point too, if I can.
What, screen share, you mean, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. Do you want to do it after these? We'll just get through these and then you can screen share what you got.
Yep. Set them up and then I'll see what I can do.
Yeah. Yeah, no worries. If you're stuck, just say, when you go to screen share, make sure you got the program open or the window open you want to screen share in your browser, say, and then you would click don't click full screen, select application window, and then you click that. It should show up in that window, and just click the one you want to screen share. Would you want me to do with these guys? Just let them play through. There's only a little handful of them here. We'll just let it scroll by because there's something at the end I want to show you.
Yeah, we can let them scroll through. Decoding them is the same way as everything else. Look to magnetics and electrical schematics to see the different components of each of these.
Yeah, compare these to the same what we've been discussing before, guys. We don't have any information on these ones, but it's just more of the same. Yet again, same designs. Well, not same, but you know what I mean.
And
It's
notice
all
how
relating to the workings of the realm.
we went up to 72 and then there seems to be a bunch missing, and now this one starts at 175.
Yeah, I'll just let it scroll up slowly to the point where I want to show you something. Yeah, more of the same. Those ones there and those large ones actually reminded me of constellations we discussed this a few days ago when I seen these. One sent me these, and that's when we were looking at them.
Look at those. Those are amazing. And they look like keyholes.
They do, don't they? Yeah. I like the shape of the bottom as well, but it kind of see how it's gone from being flat line to being warped into an arc.
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh? Is that the ground plane we're looking at there being warped a bit? Again, the sun is I think that H, does that represent a certain luminary? That one's the sun. Interesting stuff. I'll keep going. Now we're getting into outside of sigils into other designs here. See these ones here. And now these to me, that could be the representation of the tree of life, the way you got these energies at the side of something. Or, it could be the projection forming, say, even. You've got any input you want to put on that? Go ahead.
Fir cone. A lot of the time you see a fir cone in the hand of a god or a male or female doing something. And fir and even Christmas tree is still in the modern day psyche of it being important because it means something.
Yeah, certainly does. Yeah, these might look
Um,
very, very primitive, but there's a hell of a lot of information in that design alone.
Jesus Jones wants to know if you could mirror these sigils. That'd probably have to be a whole nother 3-hour stream, though.
Mirror them. He probably just mean share them. Does he can? Yeah, of course. If people want to share our work, yeah. If you mean mirror it on your channel, yeah, sure, go ahead, no problem. You can mirror any of our work, guys, if that's what you meant.
I thought he meant flip them.
Oh, as in flip the image. Yeah. Well, we've aligned them with the number at the top, so obviously someone's took into account the alignment and placed the numbers accordingly, I think.
And some of these names around them, that these last few you've shown, are similar to archangels, which maybe why they're bigger, larger.
Look at that one there.
That
If that's not, if that doesn't look like energy being directed, that one probably would probably look better uprighted. In fact, if you consider this centerpiece of the magnet, a ring magnet, and this is going to put a warp in the ether.
To me, it looks like
in the ether.
it looks like the projector, like shooting the moon out to me,
Doesn't it?
or how the East Gate would work.
Yeah. Right, we'll move to the next. There's only a couple more to show, I think, and that's it for these. But I'll show you this one because now we can go back to something Rose said earlier about the seasons and how they work and such. So I modified this to represent that and synced it with our seasons video. So you can actually see how
in my head.
the spring, summer, autumn, winter catered for here rotating counterclockwise while the other items are rotating clockwise. These names on these ones rotating clockwise, I'm not sure what they, do they represent stars, constellations? I have no idea because I don't know what these names are. One give this image to me and I just worked with it and made it do this. So I thought the best thing to do with having the seasons and such on is sync it with our seasons video. But this is just one design of many that show the seasons and the mechanics going on. You're looking at mandalas, the Nazca mandala. Every country that's got mandalas, they're all represent how the world works. The gates in the north, south, east, and west. You're going to see them on all the mandalas, and it's just more stories of the same over and over. So here's a nice finish to it. I made us our own little sigil, just for this hangout. You see that? FPV, OC, RTM, me, One Conscience, and Rose Tinted Monocle.
Yay!
So that concludes my screen sharing for the day. Stop that and go back to the panel. What do you think of that then, guys?
Great stuff.
Awesome. Yeah.
Fantastic stream, huh?
Yeah.
I'm very chill. Oh, another 3-hour stream.
Yay! Only 3 hours.
Rose wants to share still real fast.
Oh yeah, sorry, Rose. Right, go ahead, get your screen ready and tell me when you're ready and I'll present you.
So, I want that. And I want that. And
Wasn't that an enjoyable 3 hours, guys? Doesn't seem like 3 hours, does it?
No, but my missed calls are telling me it was.
Are you managing, Rose?
I'm getting there. Where's my thing? Ooh,
No, don't screen share yet. You just showed the Hangout link. We're going to have to end it, guys.
sorry.
It doesn't matter. I think we better end it because the link went out there. So yeah, better be safe than sorry. Yeah, I don't want to get a 3-month ban.
Oh, she left. Okay. All right. Well, good stream. I will talk to you later.
Yeah, enjoyable stream. Excellent work, ladies, and we'll look forward to the next one. Hope you guys in chat enjoyed it, and we'll catch you in the streams or in another stream here. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.